disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Lobito! You got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Yo, welcome everybody to another Video Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's a good Friday, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad. That's right, sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one. Fellas, in this episode, we got a fantastic one for you, as we're going to be surveying the 154-pound landscape, perhaps the most jam-packed division in boxing. So we're going to be bringing you the lowdown, the inside scoop, the dossier in the junior middleweight division. Just a fantastic division, and we're going to try to determine who comes out on top in this very heavy, top-heavy division. I mean, top-heavy. What am I talking about? It's filled up all over the place. Well, first, before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so via the Buy Me a Coffee app. Link in the description. You can also join the Patreon for free, by the way. Make sure to sign up to Patreon for free. It really helps us out. And you can donate for as little as $2 per month if you so wish. We're going to be posting some more free videos today and tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to check out BDA Clips, our secondary channel where we're putting more content there for your viewing pleasure. And don't forget you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you've yet to do so. And let's give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about the Chidlin Distributor, Rapax Trunk Company, 10-4, Prime Politics, 2 Matador, Antonio Hernandez, Sports Fanatic, Nightmurph, Combat Sports Fam TV, Baron Evola, Wayne Fitness, Official Scorecard Boxing, aka Steph K Boxing Science, Mars Boxeo. Who else we got in this little shindig here? Alejandro Solis, Uriah Smith, Hyper Spaz. I see Butch's in there as well, Quickslot, Nerd, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, listen. This division, 154 pounds, is perhaps the best division in boxing. And you've heard me say that a number of times. So some of you might be thinking, all right, BDA, can you back it up? Can you really show us the stats? Can you bring us the dossier to show that this is indeed the best division in boxing? Well, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going through the top 10, according to Ring Magazine's rankings. And we're going to be looking at what each guy brings to the party, because that's what boxing is, by the way. It's a party. Some people bring the dip. Some people bring things that you're not all that interested in. And then there's other people that bring the beer. Like a caller said one day, when Canelo fights, it's you get the barbecue, you get the beer, you get the frajos, you get the yesca, you even get the Snow White, if you know what I'm talking about. That's what he said. I didn't bring that up. So we're going to get down to all of that. All right, fellas, let's get down to it. Let me call a couple of people here. And we're going to get down to the bottom of this. I'm calling a couple of people here, see what we got. We got Bucho jumping in. Now let me share the screen here, because this is going to be an interactive episode. You're going to need to look at the screen. There we go. should be up. What are people in the chat saying? Rapak says, Yeska. Don Chile says, Salute BDA. It's happy hour. Get Gonzalo on. well, he's closer to our time zone now. Las Vegas. So it's only about a couple of hours away in terms of time difference. No longer 12 hours like it used to before. Quick Slot says, hit the like button. Yes, quick, hit that like button. Rapak says, Yeska, it's old school 90s. Absolutely. Can't go wrong with that. The Chitlin Distributor says, Jesus Ramos is the best, just needs his chance. Well, let me tell you, we're going to get to all of that plus more. So, Bucho, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. So let's get down to it, man, because I'm going to warn people right off the bat. Put the kettle on, get a cup of coffee, cup of hot cocoa, because this might take a while. We're going to try to keep it under 2 hours. I don't want to get into the 3-hour mark, Bucho. I know you don't want to do that either, so let's try to do it fast, but it's still going to be probably a 2-hour endeavor, so might as well just get started right now. Like I said, we're going to be looking through the 154-pound division, and it is a jam-packed division, perhaps superior to the featherweight division. The featherweight division is the only one that I know that comes close to it. So when it comes to 154 pounds, we got to go to the list here. There's a lot of players, a lot of contenders. Who knows who will emerge as the number one guy? All right. The first guy, according to the Ring Magazine rankings, so we're going by that more or less, Brian Lavala Mendoza. Let's go to Brian Mendoza here. He's 30 years old. He's got a record of 22 wins, 4 losses, 16 knockouts. He's about, he stands at about 5 feet 10 inches tall with a 70-inch reach. I don't know, for some reason he looks smaller, or rather shorter, when I watch him fight. But he's not that short. I mean, it says 5'10". That's pretty, around the average for the division. So there is that. This guy, again, 30 years old. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's fought everybody. Like we can see, according to his record, he's sustained a couple of losses. He's incurred some defeats, but that doesn't matter. Still very dangerous. Still part of the top 10 in this division. Now, what do we got when it comes to his dossier? Well, he's got a win over Thomas Lamana, Cornflake Lamana, that is. And he defeated him by unanimous decision back in 2020. This was during the pandemic. Excuse me. Then he fought Jason Rosario, knocked him out. And I forget if he's the one that retired Rosario or if that was Erickson Lubin. Nevertheless, he hit Rosario with a wallop of a right uppercut. And then, of course, in 2023, his best win yet, he inflicted Fundora's first and only loss via devastating left hook knockout. I mean, this guy packs a punch. No wonder they call him La Bala. When it comes to his attributes, what makes him a top 10 154-pounder? Very explosive. This dude, like I said, whether it's with the right hand, with the left hook, with the right uppercut, he can cause some damage. He's got a lot of heart, too. He was getting beat up in those first couple of rounds against Fundora. His nose was bleeding. It looked like he wasn't going to make it the distance. But he pulled off that left hook and got the win. Same thing against Tszyu. Tszyu was backing him up in the later rounds, was laying a bit of a beating on him. He never surrendered, was always there letting his hands go. And he especially showed his heart against Serhi Bohachuk last year as well, I believe. Bohachuk just laid a beating on the guy. And, Mendoza took it, didn't falter. And I think part of that is because he believes in his power. And like I said earlier, right uppercut. Watch out for that right uppercut. He gets you in his sights. I don't know how many 154 pounders are going to be able to take that punch. But he's imperfect, as evidenced by his record. He's got porous defense. Doesn't really have a guard. He relies on his footwork and head movement to get him out of the way. And because of that, sometimes he'll get pinned on the ropes against some of these pressure guys. And he gets hit a lot. So he needs to tighten that up. Another one of his flaws is suspect conditioning. Some of you might be thinking, isn't that a little bit paradoxical? Because you just said he's got hard and he makes the 12-round distance and all that. Yeah, but if you watch him in some of his fights, he stops fighting. Like against Tszyu, against Ramos. I forgot to mention, he lost to Ramos too, Jesus Ramos. he stops throwing punches and goes on the defensive. It's almost as if he can't do both things at the same time. It's either fight or go on the defensive and use that energy to stay away from fighters, or his opponents rather. So there is that suspect conditioning. Again, I'm not saying it's bad conditioning, but he's displayed in a number of fights now that it's a little inconsistent. And finally, lack of a jab. Again, 5'10", decent reach, good hand speed, but he doesn't really snap that jab. Maybe because he can't, maybe because he doesn't want to, I don't know. For whatever reason, that jab just isn't there. And then finally, now this is going to give you guys an idea on the panel and in the audience of how we're going to be unfolding this little program here. At the end, we're going to go ace in the hole, meaning what is this guy's special weapon? Could be a promoter, could be an attribute, could be a trainer. As you're going to see here, Mendoza's ace in the hole is Ismail Salas. This guy, I mean, listen, the mark of a great trainer is a guy who can bring out the best out of anybody. He's not going to turn you into Roy Jones or Sugar Ray Leonard, but he'll bring the best out of you. And I think that's what Salas brings to the table. And so for Mendoza, that is an asset that he will always have. A perfect fight. Now, see, when we get to the perfect fight, this could be perfect fight in terms of a win. You know, if a guy needs a comeback win, that could be the perfect fight. Or it could be perfect fight for us fans. In this case, I think it's a fight for him, for Mendoza. What would be a good comeback fight after succumbing to Serhi Bohachuk's pressure? I think Erickson Lubin. Because although I think Lubin is a slightly better fighter than Mendoza, a little bit more technical, he's chinny. And Mendoza can crack. And if he can get himself a win over Erickson Lubin, he gets himself back a couple of notches above the number 10 perch that he's got now. So guys, on the panel, now that you've seen, excuse me, how this works, any comments on Mendoza? Anything else you want to add?
I just want to add that another reason why Erickson Lubin would be a great situation is because he's long in the tooth and heading towards the end of his career, especially when you get to the contenders that are never become great. You hit 30 and you're definitely not winning your title now. Mm-hmm. You were a contender and able to get some title eliminations, but you're usually not getting a title. You're usually not winning a title by this time. So he's long in the tooth. He's past his best days. Think about it, his fight with Fundora was what, almost 3 years ago?
I think it was in 2023.
All right, so 2 years ago. And he was in late 20s, early 30s now, right?
Mendoza's in his early 30s right now. He's 30.
I'm talking about Lubin.
Oh, Lubin. Excuse me. Yeah, let me check it out. Yeah, he's not that young.
Which gets to my point. That's the reason why that's a perfect fight for him.
Oh, excuse me.
It's a guy.
Excuse me. He's 29. He's 29. And since I thought you were talking about Mendoza, the Fundora fight took place in 2022. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, so almost 3 years ago, but still, Lubin's an old 29. He's been through a lot, and I don't think he stays in tip-top shape all the time, especially since he's the one they use now he's not the gatekeeper yet, but he's the guy that they want to put a prospect in with.
Right.
Because I just don't see too many more title shots in his future unless you got a new champion that needs some more seasoning. And this is nothing against Lubin. He's a good fighter, and he's talented enough to constantly test people. He's just never been the guy to be able to he's never been able to be put over as he's staying in the wrestling business. But since he usually doesn't accomplish that, one of the two things is going to happen to Mendoza. He's going to fight or against Lubin, or it's going to launch him into a better situation. So I agree with you. That's a perfect fight for him.
All right, Chief, you're starting to fade out a little bit there as you get closer to the dark side of the moon. So I don't know if no problem. Sobers, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I would like to see Mendoza. I would like to see Brian Mendoza fight James Kirkland.
Wait. Is Kirkland still fighting?
I think we should get him out of retirement and get him in the ring.
Come on. So evidently you got something against poor James Kirkland. I don't even know if he can speak properly at this point now. You want him to lose all his faculties now.
I think he's an entertaining fighter who always brings it. I know I actually do like James Kirkland when he was active. But I want to say, what's up, Boxing Chief and BDA?
What's
and
up?
what's up to the listeners? I see you guys. I see your comments. I see you, Frankie Sands. I see you, Inca Boxing. I see what you guys say about me, and I guarantee you I'm going to make it a conscious effort to be on the show more often.
No.
Since you guys love me so much.
You're talking about the guys. Yeah, I saw some people left. I mean, not some people. It was about two people. It was about two people. Two people left some unsavory comments about old Sobi over here. But yeah, good to have you on board, Sobers. And I just want to forgot to say something now that Chief brought up Erickson Lubin. Before we continue on with this list, with this survey of the 154-pound, the hottest division in boxing, I want to say Brian Castaño is not going to be making the list. Same thing with Erickson Lubin. Neither guy has fought. Castaño hasn't fought since getting knocked out by Charlo in 2022, and Lubin has not fought since September 2023. That was on the undercard of Canelo Charlo. And just to give you an idea of that, Canelo's fought twice since then. Lubin's been the MIA. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're with the PBC plan. You know, the PBC.
It's oh, sorry, BDA.
No, go ahead.
I would say it's unfortunate with these guys because I think Brian Castaño and Lubin were fairly active up until this strange PBC hiatus, you know, and Brian Castaño is a good fighter. So is Erickson Lubin. They're actually competent contenders in the weight class. And there's guys I would really have liked to see them match up against. I would have liked to see Castaño versus Crawford, you know, and people don't think that would have been an easy. People think that would have been a good matchup for Crawford, but I think that guy really could have pushed him with his style.
It would have been a very entertaining fight, I agree.
Castaño.
But yeah, it just sucks.
Castaño's an entertaining fighter, despite the fact he can't really punch. I mean, he beat Teixeira, he beat Michel Soro, who could easily have made. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, he beat. He actually should have had that win, hand over that first win over Charlo. That was a robbery.
Yeah,
the first one. So
yeah.
it's a shame
and
that
he fought lower to a draw.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Belt at 160, he's a champion right now. So
that's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten about him. About the fact that he fought Lara. I forgot about that. But anyway,
he was active for a while, and then they threw him at Charlo and they used him up and they put him on the show.
It's the PBC plan, man. Fight once or not at all in 2 years. That's the best you're gonna get. So we got Brian La Bala Mendoza at number 10. Who is next in this list?
At 154? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Oh, hold on a second.
I thought you were asking us, and I was like, dang, think of a name.
It sounds like you're asking everybody.
No, because you know what? It's you know what it is? It's because you guys can hear. Sorry, hold on a second. All right, because when I go to the menu, you should be able to hear something different. But all right, so number 10. I mean, that was Brian Mendoza, and number 9, Jesus Ramos.
Okay.
Hold on a second. There we go. All right, so Jesus Ramos, what's his record? What's his deal? Well, a couple of things we got to touch on here for Jesus Ramos. At 23 years old, he is the youngest guy in this division, or at least in the top 10. 23 years old. He's a baby. And yet he's already amassed a bit of a decent dossier. He's 21-1 with 17 knockouts. But you will note that one, that sole loss of his, is a controversial one. He stands at 5 feet 10 inches tall with a 72-inch reach, which, by the way, when I saw that he was 5'10", I said, I don't know, why does he seem taller? Because Mendoza's listed at 5'10", and Ramos seemed taller than him. So someone's lying here. And we're going to try to get to
I can tell you why, BDA.
Why is that?
If you look at what's his name, Ramos's back, he has that weird Quasimodo hunchback. You know what I'm saying? I think some boxers kind of get that because you have to like tuck your shoulders, your chin. You kind of hunch over when you're fighting. And he kind of does that. And maybe he's been doing it so long, he kind of gave himself a little hump and he made himself shorter, or he should have been taller. That's how I look at it. He has a crooked back. Like that's scoliosis.
Yeah, that humping will always get you in trouble, man. It sure has to meet with me. So that is Jesus Ramos right there. 23 years old. I thought, when I was making this list, I thought I was 25, 26, maybe. 23. It's got to be the youngest guy in the PBC. Well, no. There is that other dude, 160, I think. The guy who lost to Kelvin Davis or whatever his name is.
Elijah?
Yeah, Elijah.
Garcia.
Yeah, but this dude is right up there in terms of youth. Then we've got his top wins. A win over Brian Mendoza, which aged well when Mendoza knocked out Fundora. He has a win over Vladimir Hernandez, who's been wreaking havoc over at Pro Box this last year and a half and has pulled off a couple of upsets here and there as well. And Ramos, by the way, stopped Hernandez. The only other top guy to stop Hernandez, Israil Madrimov. Other than that, this guy goes the distance. So Ramos can have that feather on his cap that he was able to stop Hernandez. He also has a good win over Luke Santamaria. Santamaria had a win over one of Ramos's family members, the hard-punching Abel Ramos. And Santamaria also has a win over Devon Alexander. So that's a good win for Ramos.
That guy who's mixed with black and Mexican, BDA?
I believe he is. Hold on, let me see a picture of him. No,
he looks like one of my nephews. Dark as hell with the buzz cut.
Yeah, he's got the buzz cut, but he doesn't look Afro-Anglo. But yeah, anyway, that's a good win right there for Jesus Ramos. You know, you could also throw in Javier Molina in there. Or Joey Spencer. Remember that? He beat up poor Joey Spencer. The guy who was saying
poor little Joey.
Yeah, the guy that was saying that Fury had loaded gloves and... what else? Bucho, you remember that. What else did he say about... He said some people were cheaters? People from Detroit? Or what was he saying?
Oh man. That was a long time ago.
I can remember what you're saying, that they would use that technique and someone used that on him or something. He lost a fight and someone did that to him. Or like a trainer told him to do that. I can't remember if that was Spencer who said that, but I remember a fighter said something like that a trainer suggested he fight like that. He's like, I got too much integrity. And it's like, dude, come on, you're a boxer. Don't be a liar. Don't try to be funny. Don't try to be clever. You're an idiot.
Well, I mean, listen,
no one would tell you to do that.
Ramos beat the crap out of this dude, so that could have been a win. But we're sticking because of the list. I want to keep it at 3 names. I don't want to go overboard. So those are his top 3 wins, at least according to me. I don't know what you guys think. Yeah. So as we go along, I want to hear from you guys your input on whether we got some things wrong on this list. When it comes to his attributes, what makes him a top 10 154-pounder? Versatile offense. This guy can hit with either hand. Good hooks, good right hook, because remember, he's a southpaw. A good right hook, left uppercut, good straight left. He can counter a little bit too, as well as come forward. So that's evidently going to help him out in this division. Very good at cutting the ring off. He'll stick to his opponents like glue and let that offense go. And there are a couple of movers in this division. Some guys outside the top 10 as well, like Erickson Lubin. So that ring cutting also helps, although not according to the judges. And body punching. He's of Mexican stock, and of course, he's got that body punching stock. And if you want to know about his body punching, just ask the aforementioned Joey Spencer about the body punching that Ramos brings to the party. Guys, what do you think about this list here, or Ramos's attributes overall as a boxer?
I think one thing you didn't mention, I think is worth mentioning though, like his family's like heavy into boxing. He has an uncle that boxes, Abel, and you know that doesn't make him a better fighter. But guys that come from boxing families, they have boxing minds at home. You know, there's certain guys that like say Teofimo Lopez and his dad's his trainer. His dad's, you know, we don't know if he's boxed professionally or even amateur. I don't think he even did that. So that guy we all know he only has a limited amount of knowledge that he can really give his son about the ring. Same thing with Bill Haney and Devin. But you see that other fighters that they come from boxing families, and it doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a champion. But when it's a generational thing, they usually output some good fighters later on. Like Pitbull Cruz's dad was a boxer, and you know, I think him having his dad and his grandpa in his corner when they fought Gervonta Davis, you know, people were thinking he was going to get knocked out. I think his dad, with the boxing money he had, they really had a good game plan, you know, that maybe someone else wouldn't have had. So I think that and same thing with Floyd Mayweather, you know, he had his uncle and his dad who were boxers, and they made him into who he was. So I think having that experience, even if it's not like world contender status, you know, backing you up, I think that means a lot, and that is an attribute to help you over someone like Teofimo who just has his dad and just, come on, knock him out already. You look at those abs. Use them.
Knock him out already. What the fuck? Like, hey, man.
That shit hurt my throat.
Didn't you know your son had a hole in his trachea or his rectum or whatever it was? Like, why is he asking him? Why is he asking what's the matter with you if you know what was the matter with him?
I mean,
see, that's why the disconnect.
the rectum is a hole, so I really don't think that.
You know what I mean?
He had like a fissure. He had like a fissure in his rectum, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's in his lower colon or whatever it was. But Chief brings up a good point about the family unit that surrounds Ramos, and because like a guy like Bill Haney, before he was packing gym bags with gloves, he was packing them with keys. Allegedly, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but he was packing other stuff in those gym bags, and so he wasn't really the guy who's been deep into boxing, like Ramos's family, who appears to be all over the place with that, or all into that rather. Now,
for the record, I thought you said that I made that point. That was Sober's point.
Yeah, you're right. Now I'm all over the place.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Now,
no worries. But I did want to piggyback off of that of other families. The Garcia family, obviously, were have champions in it. But I also think that, like, if Robert ever has a son and brings him up through boxing, I definitely think that the kid, if he commits to it, will be very good because there's a lot of boxing minds there. And the Diaz family, I think with Julio and Antonio, the lightweight and the lightweight champion, the welterweight contender, they got a good stable right now. And so what Sober's saying about good boxing minds when it's a family-oriented situation, I mean, when it's in your blood, the family helps.
All right, you're fading out, Chief. You're fading out. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm driving. Anyway, Sober has a good point. I'm going to wrap it up on that.
All right. There's a lot of boxing families out there, and it always helps to have people who are grounded in boxing. They're not just dilettantes. It's like, it's a way to make money, and we'll see where it goes. Now, in terms of flaws, Jesus Ramos at 23, he's got a couple. Too patient. He said so himself, by the way, because he's going to be fighting on the Benavides Morel undercard. He said he was too patient against Lubin. Now, some people are using that to say, you see, he admits he lost. Nah, man. By the way, I was telling Bucho this. I was rewatching the highlights. Didn't have the time to watch the full fight, but I was watching the Lubin highlights on YouTube. So it's a good 8-minute highlight video. So it's not like they were just picking and choosing the best moments for Ramos. I didn't see Lubin winning that fight. And yet, out of 13 comments, there's 2 people there, just to show you some type of maniacs we have in the internet. Y'all, Ramos didn't get robbed. Stop playing. It's like, what? You can clearly see, if you watch the whole 8-minute clip, you can see Lubin didn't win that fight. It's insanity. I don't know what these people are watching.
It's that PBC playbook, BDA. You already know what they do. They get a Paisa, they get a Afro-Anglo. Whether, if it's close, they give it to the American, I would say the American, the Afro-Anglo, because Ramos himself is an American. And you don't see these Latino Americans getting the benefit of doubt against their Afro-Anglo counterparts. Ever. We weren't even sure that Ryan Garcia was going to beat Devin Haney when they announced the winner, bro. And he knocked him down like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. Listen. Well, I'm going to get to a little bit of that later, but the second flaw is he's slow. He is there to be hit, and he's slow of both hand and foot speed a little bit. I'm not saying he's a slow poke, but as we're going to see later on, is he slower than some of these other guys at 154? We'll see, but it could prove the difference if he is. And also, and this goes to Sober's point, that association with the PBC, it already cost him, potentially, because again, I don't know if the PBC had anything to do with him getting jobbed against Lubin, but it could, like Sober said. And then it's also the inactivity. He's on that classic PBC plan, which is fight once and then just that's it. Now, he was lucky that during 2020, he fought right before the pandemic, and then they still managed to give him 2 fights during the pandemic, so that was good. He also fought 3 times in 2021, but then by 2022, when things started going awry for the PBC, he only fought twice. Last year, 2023, he fought twice, but then in 2024, only 1 fight against nondescript opposition in Johan Gonzalez. So, he hasn't fought since May 2024. By the time he steps in the ring next February, it's going to be close to a year layoff. He needs to cut ties with the PBC. I don't know what type of arrangement he has, what type of contract. But guys, what do you think about him sticking with the PBC here?
I think they have him in a blood contract. So unless he gives him his firstborn, I don't think he's getting out of that.
You think it's possible that maybe he's got a family member like a tia or like a abuelita who doesn't have all her paperwork, and the PBC knows, and they go, hey, listen, one phone call to ICE from us and she's back in, you know what I mean?
Not one tia, BDA. I think a couple tias and tios, maybe cousins, maybe his dad. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, because why would you want to stick with the PBC at this point? It's insane.
And also, he's kind of cucky a little bit. They asked him about Canelo Crawford, and he was picking Crawford. I don't like that.
Yeah. That's that PBC influence. They put it in his brain. He's out there freestyling and everything. He memorizes, the lyrics to Gangster and all that. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
All right, so that's what we get there with his flaws. Then we get to the ace in the hole, the thing that stands him out from the rest of the 154-pounders, and that could be stamina. Again, at 23, not the deepest dossier in the division, but from what I've seen is this dude has quite an engine. Combine that with his youth, 23. Let's say in 2 years he fights some of these top 10 guys. They're going to be older. They're going to be past their peak, a lot of them. They're going to be in their 32, 33 years old. So that stamina could be the difference in the fight.
Yes, I agree. I think his ace in the hole at the 154 is going to be his youth.
Absolutely.
That goes along with the stamina. He'll be able to dig more. You have a little more to give. You have a little more flesh to give to the sport. He could probably take a beating more than some of these other guys. Not, because you got Tszyu and Brian Mendoza. They're all beating the dog shit out of each other.
Yeah, that's true. Right? He could benefit from that. Like, let all these other guys beat the shit out of each other for 2 years, and then he comes in. I mean, he's ready now, though. He's ready now, but in the end, his longevity could end up being a factor here. Shout out to Rod Rook Davies, by the way. Haven't heard him from a while. Still rocking in the free will right there. Rod Rook Davies, shout out to him. Now, I want to get back here to this.
Isn't that Gucci Man?
No. Rod Rook he's a musician from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
He released a couple of albums.
I thought that was a Gucci Man's name.
I don't know who Gucci Mane is. I'm gonna assume
he's a trap rapper from Atlanta. He's an ATL legend, BDA.
Hey, maybe Rod Rook and Gucci Mane are gonna collaborate one day. Killer solo from Rod Rook. Now, what I wanted to say about Ramos is the perfect fight for him would be the Lubin rematch. He already beat him once. He just didn't get the decision. So I think a Lubin rematch would do wonders for his career. It would set the wrong. Right the wrong that happened in that last in September 2023, and it could be a redemption arc. You look at one loss, but then you look at his record and you go, "Oh, he avenged it." So who's next? You know what I mean? That type of stuff. What do you guys think?
Rematches and close decisions are always a good thing because you can always sell them on an undercard, and everyone gets paid. People make money. It's good for the sport. There's a script that you can throw off of. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Sobers, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I think a rematch with Lubin would favor Lubin. I think they would try to get this dude to be inactive and then say, hey, come back. We'll give you another close decision against this guy. Don't worry about it. Just get in there and knock the rust off. So I don't know how much. I mean, they already robbed you once against this dude. If you don't knock him out, they're probably going to do it again. Like, I feel like they're trying to do the same thing to Rayo Valenzuela when he was fighting, was it Chris Colbert? Well, we call him Colberto, right? Because he has the heart of a Mexican, but
Colberto.
Yeah, we'll call him Colberto. But yeah, they're fixing to rob him too. That's more of that PBC playbook shit.
Yeah, potentially. Anything else anyone else wants to mention about Jesus Ramos?
Nope.
He looks like a werewolf.
He does kind of look, the whole Ramos family, they all look like animals. One of them looks like a vampire bat. They're interesting looking people. All right. Let's go back to the list here. Who else we got? All right, so we just got done with Ramos, number 9. And number 3, the dark horse of the division, Charles Conwell. All right, so what do we got with Charles Conwell here? And I mentioned the dark horse because not a lot of people know a lot about him. He's been fighting in the DAZN undercards. He's been getting exposure. But again, compared to some of these other names, most people go, well, okay, who is he? 27 years old, a little bit long in the tooth already for a guy who still doesn't have that deepest dossier in the division. In fact, I think he's got the thinnest record or resume right now compared to some of these other guys. But nevertheless, what I've seen from him, I like so far. 21-0 with 16 knockouts. So the guy can crack. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. And let's go to some of his attributes here. His top win so far, as you can see, slim pickings from him. They've been building him up, trying to get him some activity. He had a tough fight against Juan Carlos Abreu, the always tough Dominican, I believe. Juan Carlos Abreu. And that fight, he stopped. It was a majority decision. So far, it's been his toughest fight to date. That was back in 2022. He beat Nathaniel Gallimore afterwards, the always tough Nathaniel Gallimore. He always brings it. And then just recently, he beat the undefeated RG Geraldo Luis Vergara. Vergara actually came in with a
Vergaso?
Vergara came in with a glossy record. He was stiff. He tried to rise to the occasion. Vergara tried to rise to the occasion, but he just couldn't get it done against Conwell.
He was a bit limp. His performance was a bit limp.
yeah. He needed a little help. He should, it happens. Women say that sometimes. It happens. It's okay. No, it's not okay. But anyway, that's what happened with him. He ended up stopping Vergara. What makes Conwell a top 10 junior middleweight? Very relaxed. That's what I like about him. He goes in there again. Like I said, his resume is kind of thin compared to some of these other guys, but he doesn't show it. Very relaxed, very composed, confident. And the reason, and he comes forward doing it, by the way. He's a bit of a pressure guy, and the fact that he can stay relaxed doing that seems easier said than done, but he manages to pull it off. And I think one of the reasons why he manages to do that and be relaxed is because he's got a tight defense. Very good guard. And it's not just a guard where he just puts his gloves up and walks forward. He changes levels with the guard. It's a dynamic guard, meaning he moves the hands just a tiny little bit when the punches are coming so that he can deflect them. And it's interesting because a couple of weeks ago, I think it was on Boxing Scene, there was an article about how he used to spar Jaron Ennis. And I think Conwell's trainer told him, hey, listen, if you do that stupid shit against Ennis, he's going to beat you up. Meaning just stand there with your gloves up. So I think they've certainly made a concerted effort to improve that guard. Like I said, make it more dynamic, more fluent, adding a couple of wrinkles to it. And then one of his other attributes is body punching. Like I said, he's a very aggressive guy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Brian Norman from 147 pounds. Except I think Conwell might be a little bit more, have a little more finesse to his game. I don't know. What do you guys think about old Charles Conwell?
I don't know much about Conwell.
Yeah, me neither, man.
See what I tell you? That's what I'm saying.
I can't really comment.
All right. Well, take it from me. This guy could be a problem at one.
We're trusting you and all of your wisdom, sir.
There you go. His flaws, well, again, we don't know much because he hasn't really fought the best out there, but I guess the number one thing would be his inexperience. Again, the fact that his resume pales in comparison to some of these other guys in the division. I don't think he's going to melt under the bright lights, but you just never know. The other thing we don't know about is his chin. Yeah, you can walk down Vergara and Abreu and Nathaniel Gallimore, but how about when you're in there in front of Bohachuk or Murtazaliev or Terence Crawford? Is that chin going to hold up if the guard doesn't do the job? That's one question that I have. And Abreu was hitting him with some good shots too. And Abreu was really more of a 147-pounder, so I don't know. And then there's his height. At 5'9", he's relatively short. I think maybe a little bit under the average. I don't know what the average is, but I'm going to assume that for this division, the average might be about 5'9". So there's some guys out here, as we're going to see, 5'11", 6 feet, some even above 6 feet tall. So that height could pose a problem when it comes to getting inside some of these guys' reach. His ace in the hole, I think it's his inside fighting. As we're going to see later on, there's a bunch of other inside fighters in this division, but I think because of his size and because he keeps everything tight in there, maybe also the arm length. What was his arm length again? Hold on. 70-inch reach. So yeah, maybe he might have shorter arms than some of these guys. So inside, he could beat some guys to the punch when it comes to warfare in the trenches, trench warfare. The perfect fight for him. Again, I don't know if some of these other guys are going to want to get in there with him because, like you guys said, most of you have never seen him fight. He's unknown. He's not a big name. Why would any of these guys risk fighting him? So in that case, I think a fight against Brandon Adams, who's about his same size, his same dimensions. Adams is a veteran. He's wily. He's got good defense, and he can crack. Just ask Serhi Bohachuk. So I think that would be the perfect fight for Charles Conwell. All right. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. And don't forget to subscribe if you've yet to do so already. Let's go to the next fighter. Who is next here? Yeah, the 154-pound division. Perhaps the best division in boxing right now. Oh, Tszyu. How the mighty have fallen. Just a year ago, there were high hopes for old Tszyu. Some people thought that he was going to be the next best thing. He was beating some solid opposition. And then just as soon as he got to the top, oof. But anyway, we'll get to that. He's 30 years old. He's got a record of 24 wins, 2 losses, 17 knockouts. At 5'8.5", he's one of the shortest guys here. But he's got a decent reach, 72-inch reach. And he needs that reach because he's more of a long-distance, mid-range fighter. His top wins so far, well, I had to condense it to 3, so you guys tell me if you agree. I think Takeshi Inoue is an underrated win. That was from 2018, I want to say. Let me just check to make sure. That was back in, that was 2021. What am I talking about? 2021. Takeshi Inoue is a very tough guy, very strong. He also gave Munguia a tough fight, and Tszyu handled him very well. Another name that in his dossier, Tony Harrison, mobile veteran. Tszyu managed to stop him late in the fight, I believe. And then he also had the win over Brian Mendoza, which was his last win in 2023. But he managed to push Mendoza, busted him up late, and walked away with a unanimous decision and with a belt. What do you guys think? You guys agree that that's one of his, these are his 3 best wins, or would you go with Dennis Hogan, Jeff Horn, Karel Gosha, Carlos Ocampo? What do you guys think?
I mean, all those are good names. Similar to his dad, they put him in with some recognizable names early. Unlike his dad, he didn't have a long amateur career. I did predict he would get a title, so even if it was a vacant one, he got one. I never said that he was going to be anywhere near close to his father, and he clearly is not. But he's still got some potential. The difference is if this would have been back during the Charlo, J-Rock, and everything else run, I would still say he has a really good shot at getting to the top because he would have been at the same age or younger, less of an amateur career, so not as much wear and tear from the get-go. There's a lot of factors that could have been in his favor, but this group, I'm not overly familiar with this group because there's so many, to me, newer faces. And when I say they're fresh and young, they don't have, not all of them have a lot of long professional careers. They may be in their early 30s, but they were top amateurs. They're strong guys. He's got his work cut out for him. It doesn't mean he can't still get another title, but the talent here is solid. Charlo's era, I've said this many times, is an era of solid skilled guys that were hot and cold in their performances and underachievers. We've yet to see if the rest of the division is going to be like that, but it doesn't appear like they don't seem to have the mentality to be like that. They look like they want to be great, not show up one night, win a title, and lose it the next. So Tszyu's in some deep water, in my opinion. If he really, really wants to be great, he's going to have to really settle down. I won't say get a better trainer, but really dedicate his craft to work on his weak points.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The 154-pound division right now, deep waters, deep shark-infested waters, and he's already been bitten a couple of times. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he can return from that. His attributes, what made him an up-and-coming top 10 guy, and what makes him still a top 10 guy? Well, very good at controlling the range. At some point, he was looking a little bit like Gennady Golovkin in there, pushing guys back while still making them miss by taking just the right amount of creating the right amount of distance and then countering them. Really tired a lot of guys out doing that. So range control is still pretty good, despite what Murtazaliev did to him. Ring cutting. He's very good at cutting off the ring. Just ask Brian Mendoza and Terrell Gaucher how Tim Tszyu was able to stick to them nonstop. I mean, this guy, he's got some good instincts. And may I say that he's also got underrated power. I mean, just look at Ocampo versus Fundora. Fundora can crack a little bit too, but he went 12 rounds against Ocampo. Meanwhile, Tim Tszyu goes in there and just blasts him out. There was another guy that he knocked out early. Who was it? Was it? I forget. But there was another guy that he knocked down. You go, whoa, he stopped him. I mean, Tony Harrison. I mean, yeah, I know Tony Harrison's a little bit of a, he's chinny. But nevertheless, he was able to take him out too. He's also able to stop Jeff Horn. So he can crack a little bit. He can crack. And at 154 pounds, he's going to need all the power and all the advantages and all the attributes that he can get. What else do you guys like about Tim Tszyu? Anything else we miss here? All right.
What I like about him is he wants to prove his own identity. He doesn't want to be the son of Tszyu. And if he can keep, like I said, he's going to have to really... Lennox Lewis was old, sorry, I'm just tripping over words. I don't remember Lennox having like 150 amateur fights. So in his late 20s, early 30s, he decided to hire Emmanuel Stewart and dedicate himself to becoming a great fighter. Everyone knows I've got my own opinions on where he fits on that greatness, but what I can't deny is the fact he went from a guy that measured with the left only to try and throw the right with a one-trick pony to being the number one heavyweight of his era. So if Tszyu wants to do that same thing, not to say that he can, but if he wants to, he's got to really sit down and dedicate himself. Look, I've got all these attributes going my way. Now, what do I need to fix? Arnold Schwarzenegger would always say when he was getting ready for bodybuilding, for a competition, once I got, the base right, my chest is big, I got my shoulders are carved. Now I got to work on my weak points. What are those weak points? His are the fact he does need a little bit more experience, because even with his resume, he's a little bit lacking compared to some of these other guys in rounds and quality rounds at the championship level. So that's number one. And number two, he needs to really sit and say, okay, if I'm not going to move my head, then how tight does my high guard have to be? If I'm going to use the jab, how can I make it faster and vary the timing to throw my opponent's timing off? Whatever attributes he's going to work on, he needs to dedicate himself to them very hard, because he is determined. We've already seen that. And so between the attributes he's got and his determination, he has to really dedicate to try and fix some weak points to get to be anything better than what he is.
You hit the nail on the head right there, Chief. The lack of experience. And what type of experience are we talking about? Amateur experience. A lot of the basics that some of these dudes work out during their amateur foray, their career, he did not have that. I've always given Tszyu credit for how fast he learned the game and how quickly he took to it and dominated guys who had deeper amateur dossiers like Terrell Gaucher. But something was missing there, because of his late start. So you're absolutely right. And which brings us to his flaws. Again, he's got 2 losses at this point, so those flaws are pretty apparent. Lack of a guard. Like Chief said, he needs to... he's got good control of range, so there is that. But if the range fails, you need to have a tight guard as a second line of defense, and he doesn't have that. Look at the Murtazaliev fight, dropping his hands, bad hand positioning, placement, just relying on trying to lean back and getting caught with those left hooks. He needs to tighten that defense. Tight, yeah. Needs to keep it tight.
Everything tight.
The other thing that I feel he should be working on is, like I said, he's got good punching power. Let your hands go a little bit more to the body. He's a little too patient sometimes. Case in point, when he fought Brian Mendoza, the early rounds, he was being too cautious. And I understand Mendoza's, like I said earlier, he's very explosive. They don't call him the bullet for nothing. But, against Fundora, okay, he looked like Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, nonstop blood. That blinded him a little bit. But I don't know, I felt like he should really put the pedal to the metal more. And I know some of you guys might think, BDA isn't what got him knocked out in the first place. Well, that's where he's got to work on everything. He's got to put 2 and 2 together and be a little bit more aggressive. And here's the other thing. The chin, has it been cracked? Historically, we've seen guys who get beat up the way he did, and they're never the same again. Not to mention, just mentioning the psychological aspect, but what about physically?
He went on for 3 rounds, so I don't know. This wasn't Vargas Trinidad. That was like 12 rounds. He was 12 rounds.
Yeah, that's
almost.
a good
Yeah.
point. Usually those career-changing beatings are prolonged, not 3 rounds. But so when your chin's cracked early, sometimes it's confidence. And so if his confidence hasn't shaken any, I think he's got the dedication to fix things. Big thing is he needs to go back and realize the fact he's not his dad. His dad was really good at leaning back to his right and then launching a counter right hand over everything. And I know he picked that up from his father.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as perfect, but his dad learned that from having almost 300 amateur fights. He doesn't have that. He needs to go back. These guys are bigger. They're somewhat faster. And like I said, his dad perfected that from hours upon hours upon hours upon years in the gym. He doesn't have that experience yet. He needs to work on something else. He's not going to be able to do that like his dad. He needs to be his own man and his own fighter. If he fixes some of these flaws and not tries to be like his dad, which he doesn't want to be, but that pull counter right that he tries to do, that is his dad's move. That's undisputable. His dad did it throughout his career.
It's a great point.
He's not as good as the dad at it. He needs to try and find a different signature move for himself, because it obviously doesn't work with what happened in his last fight.
Yeah, he tries to lean back too often, tries to roll with the right hand to do the shoulder roll and then counter with a right uppercut. And when you're fighting a taller guy who winks hooks the way Murtazaliev did, you got to get under those shots by weaving or put your hands up. I mean, again, after the first knockdown, that was all. Bucho, you just rewatched the fight, right? Recently, the Tszyu. Was it all over after the first round? After the first knockdown, was he just too discombobulated?
I feel like the first knockdown. I feel like Tszyu never recovered from that first knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
He did make a mistake in that knockdown. Obviously, his right hand was low. After that, he made other mistakes, but I don't know if those mistakes had to do with the fact that he was completely. He didn't recover from the first knockdown. But he does make a lot of mistakes, obviously. But yeah,
by the way, people are saying that despite the fact that he was bleeding like a stuck pig against Fundora, a lot of people in the chat feel that he actually won that fight. And I'm not going to argue. He was definitely on his way to putting a beating on Fundora early before the cut, and then even after the cut, it was a close fight. He never stopped landing. So maybe his record could easily just have one loss. And by the way, that's the other thing. When we talk about flaws, maybe it's his association with the PBC. Maybe he should get away from those people as soon as possible, because they did the old Guatemalan snatch away when he was supposed to fight Thurman, and then at the last minute, oh, hey, actually, you're going to fight a 6 feet, 5 inch guy who also happens to be a southpaw. So when we get to...
like the way... just about the PBC, just like the way Manny Pacquiao was preparing for a southpaw, and then the 11th hour, he has to fight Ugas, when Ugas has been sparring with southpaws for a month.
Yeah, I mean...
They're loyal to their fighters, and Tszyu is not their fighter. They're borrowing him. He's not a PBC stable. So I would go other places. If I were Tszyu, I'd go back home. I'd go back home, see what Australia can bring in, get some seasoning, make some money because he sells there, build himself back up, and then wait to see what happens when, I wouldn't do it longer than another year or two, but because by that time he'll be close to mid-30s. But I would go home for a while and perfect those imperfections and make some money in the process, and then come back later. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely, and that's well. First, before we get to that, the ace in the hole. I didn't know really what to put here. I said pressure because I really do enjoy the way he pressures guys from afar, kind of like a European style type of pressure. He's not just barging in, moving the head up and down or whatever. What do you guys think? What could be his ace in the hole? Could it be one of his punches, the right hand maybe? Or the right uppercut?
Australia.
Fighting in Australia?
Yeah, you know what? That's
go back home.
Point.
Like I said, go back home. Go back home to where people will pay for you to fight softer opponents, for you to perfect these things. It's everything I just said a second ago, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But hit the ace in the hole, go back home. Go to where you sell. Go to where they can build you up against. We're not setting you up for a fall by bringing you back and putting you against tomato cans. We're putting you in against softer touches that you can work on things with, where you shouldn't lose and still improve while testing yourself and making money.
You guys
that's my point of Australia.
You guys bring an excellent point. See, that's why I like having this panel, because yeah, you're right. He's a legitimate attraction over there in Australia. He can rebuild. He's not relying on the North American market. So you're absolutely right. The ace in the hole could be Australia. Oi. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Danger, danger, danger.
Now, as it pertains to what else we got? Oh, yeah. So the perfect fight for him, perfect comeback fight. Again, he's got big balls, so he's probably going to try to go in there against another puncher or something. You know what I think? Fight Luke Santamaria, the aforementioned Luke Santamaria. He's a mover. He's not that big a puncher. It's a type of style, Tszyu, we know he's already beaten guys like that. You know, like Dennis Hogan's a little bit similar to Santamaria. So, yeah, fight Santamaria. He's still around. He's incurred a couple of losses. He probably needs a payday too. So, do that fight in Australia. Rebuild Tszyu's confidence. Have him work on some of those wrinkles that he needs to add to his game. Crease some of those crinkles. And yeah, I think that's a perfect fight for him right there. What would you guys say?
I don't know what could be. I mean, a tune-up, easy tune-up first. Completely easy tune-up, in my opinion. Work on some things. And then, yeah, one of those fights.
Absolutely. Because he's, I mean, again, we want to see if his chin's okay. And if
he
he's
has to do it fast, by the way. He has to do it fast. No, he's 29.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 30. He's 30 already.
30.
Yeah. All right. So we go back to the main menu here. We're surveying the 154-pound division. Who is the best? It's a loaded division. And so now we've gone to 4 people. Now we get to the number 5 spot, a coveted spot, mind you. And we go to... Oh, hold on a second. Where am I? Serhi Bohachuk.
While you're pulling that up,
If
I may put one more point in about Tszyu is he may be 30, but without a long amateur career, he should be a young 30, depending on his lifestyle outside the ring. So you're not wrong that he needs to hurry up. But where some people start to fade around, 30, 32-ish, he might start to fade towards his later 30s, provided the fact he hasn't tortured his body a lot with the amateur career. So sorry to steal
That's
that
okay. That's okay.
But
we'll find out in his tune-up fight if his chin's cracked, psychologically, if he's all there. We will see how much he's got left. All right. So the next guy we're getting to then is Serhi Bohachuk, the Ukrainian terror. They should send this guy in the front lines to fight the Ruskies. Let me tell you, this guy is a problem. Serhi Bohachuk is 29 years old. He's got a record of 25 wins, 2 losses, 24 knockouts. About as good a KO ratio as he gets in this list. He's listed as being 6 feet tall with a 73-inch reach, but don't let that fool you. He doesn't really rely on his reach and height all that much. And that's where we get to his top wins here. Brian Mendoza, La Bala, beat him up something awful in 2023, I want to say. When was it? I'm getting my dates mixed up. Yeah, in 2024. 2024, okay. He fought 3 times in 2024. Very active. So he beat up Mendoza in 2024. Before that, again, this is where it gets a little slim pickings here. After that, he beat Rafael Igbogwe, stopped him. Now, Igbogwe is a guy that went the distance with Madrimov too, whereas Bohachuk stopped him. So that's a pretty good wrinkle in his game right there, or his feather, cap in his feather. What am I talking about? And Nathaniel Gallimore, who's always tough, good test for our young up-and-comers. He also stopped Gallimore as well. So, like I said, very experienced guy there. Well, despite the fact that he just came out of nowhere for a little while. And by the way, some people say that perhaps Vergil Ortiz's name should be in there in top wins. You never know. When it comes to attributes, what does he bring to the party? Well, he's got pressure. The guy just doesn't stop coming. Puts his earmuffs up and says, let's go to work. Punching power. As his record indicates, this guy can crack. And in his last fight, Ishmael Davis tried to give him a tough outing, tried to give him a couple of rounds. He had to pull out of there. The pressure was too much. And the inside fighting. Bohachuk just works guy over when he's on the inside. Uppercuts, hooks, mid-range right hands. I mean, it's just awful. It must be hell to fight a guy like Bohachuk, who's not only a good inside fighter, but what makes him a tough inside fighter is he's strong. On top of that, guys, what do you think about Serhi Bohachuk and his skills, his skill set? And do you think that in the previous page that I showed there, when I showed top wins, should Vergil Ortiz's name have been on that list?
I don't know. Maybe. I think you did a pretty good breakdown.
No, but what I'm asking is, do you think Ortiz's name should have been in the previous page when it comes to top wins?
Oh, so you're asking if we thought that the guy should have been?
Yeah, if he was robbed or something? No.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was close. I mean, some people in the chat saying that he should have won. I don't know. I had Ortiz winning, but it was a close fight. Somebody had to win.
There's a difference between a close fight and a robbery. I didn't get to see enough of the fight at BDA. I'm sorry to be another one of these cases where I mainly just saw the highlights.
How dare you?
The highlights didn't show the fact that that there was a clear dominant winner to where one person was definitely robbed. Obviously, with someone like Ortiz, unless you really pull off that upset, you're going to expect to come up a tad bit short because people expecting a lot of things from him and want to see him get there. Plus, if he lives up to that potential, he's probably going to be a major seller. So you need to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's when you're fighting Ortiz if you think you're going to get the win. That being said, everything you pointed out about this individual is pretty spot on.
All right. Sobers, anything you want to add before we move on to the next page?
We're talking about Bohachuk.
Come on. Yeah, man.
I think dang. He did good in his last fight against Moses. I think he has a potential to become a champion at this weight class. I would favor him over guys like Crawford, Madrimov. So you know what I mean? I think he's going to be a top contender, maybe a champion in this weight class. And yeah, I really want to see who he fights. I wanted to see him fight Madrimov because I thought he was going to beat up Madrimov, but I guess they're giving him to Vergil. I think Vergil's going to beat him up too, but yeah, Bohachuk is good. I think he's going to be a champion in this weight class.
All right. Now, then we get to his flaws. Again, he's got 2 losses, so we should be able to find some flaws. His chin. I'm still dubious about his chin. Brandon Adams is not the biggest puncher out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he does kind of like a skinny, Eastern European chin. He kind of got that. What's the word? He has those sunken eyes, that 1,000-yard stare, like he's seen some of his family be blown apart in the Eastern Bloc, some random war that no one's ever spoken about. So that might leave him traumatized. It might leave him a little chinny. And just see guys with skinny chins like that. They're always kind of sus, like Crawford. When they got those skinny little pointy chins, can't trust them.
It's a good point. I've thought about that with old Bohachuk. And, Ortiz stunned him. He said, by the way, Bohachuk, he tries to be the macho guy and goes, he never hurt me once. I saw him do the stinky leg about 2-3 times in that fight. Now, again, that was against Vergil Ortiz. He's a big puncher, but really a big puncher at 147. He's not a proven puncher at 154. So we know whether it's against punchers or not, Bohachuk can be stunned. And so it makes me question his chin. And I think Sobers is right on the money with that. These tall guys with the pencil necks usually don't take the ordnance all that well. They don't absorb it all that well. The other thing that sort of bothers me about Bohachuk or that concerns me is he one-dimensional? He comes forward, and that's great. But what happens when you encounter a guy that you can't back up? In fact, that's what happened against Ortiz in a couple of instances. Ortiz was backing him up, and I didn't see that many counters from Bohachuk. So if a guy is able to beat him at his own game, and there's certainly a bunch of guys in this division who are strong pressure fighters, how's he going to deal with that? Does he have a plan B other than just, let me just throw harder or more shots? Remains to be seen. And also, it brings us to the longevity. If he's indeed a one-dimensional fighter and just has one speed, one direction, he's not gonna last too much, especially in a division filled with punchers, pressure fighters, younger fighters. What do you guys think?
I mean, he was in there with Ortiz. He did pretty well. I think he can hang with anybody. So
I think so.
Again?
He's 30, I believe, right? Is that what we said? 29. Sorry, 29.
29. But does anyone know how long the amateur career was?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I did not check that.
That's the thing. If he's 29 but had 200 amateur fights, he's a little older than 29.
Well, I mean, but that's my point, though, with his one-dimensional seemingly one-dimensional style that he likes to bang it out there. Is he gonna last long? Especially in a division, like I said, in a division that has strong guys, younger guys, big punchers. Is he gonna last with that style?
Typically speaking, no. But every fighter's a little bit different. But I mean, typically speaking, especially like I said, if he had that long amateur style, regardless of his current quote unquote style, if he had a lot of wear and tear already when he was young, and now he's 29, and his professional style is taking a lot of damage, no, typically you don't last long that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. It's a big question that I have. Again, I'm not saying that that's what it is. We're just presenting possibilities here, possible scenarios. Now, as it pertains to his ace in the hole, what is his ace in the hole? I think stamina. He certainly seemed a fresher guy throughout the fight than Ortiz, and that was a high-paced rock and roll affair. Same thing against Brian Mendoza. Was able to outlast him in that fight consistently, outworking him. And the fact that he scored so many knockouts too indicates that he can. I mean, he can take some guys into deep waters too. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these other guys deal with his engine. I think that's probably his ace in the hole right there. Could be his punching power too. But then again, I already mentioned his offense, so don't want to repeat that right there. As for the perfect fight, well, this would be perfect fight for us fans. Again, not necessarily for his health. And that is a fight against Bakhram Murtazaliev. I mean, that is guaranteed fight of the year contender right there.
I agree. I was going to bring that up, that Murtazaliev. I wonder if that guy would test his chin.
Now, what was Fundora was supposed to fight him, right? And then that's when Thurman got injured.
I don't remember.
Who was supposed to fight him?
Wasn't Fundora and Fundora was supposed to fight Bohachuk, right? Last year?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Yeah, they were supposed to fight in the Thurman Tszyu undercard, and then that's when Thurman got hurt, and so they had to pull Fundora into the main event. So, that's another interesting fight that could have been. I don't know, who would you guys favor between Murtazaliev and Fundora? I mean, excuse me, not Murtazaliev, Bohachuk and Fundora.
I would say, who do you think is a bigger puncher, Brandon Adams or what's the guy's name? Brian Mendoza.
Oh, or Mendoza. I think Mendoza should be the bigger puncher.
Yeah, so if he got knocked out by a lesser puncher, I would give the edge to the guy who got knocked out by the heavier puncher, Fundora. I mean, he's bigger, he got the frame, and you got to punch like Brian Mendoza to knock him out, not like Brandon Adams.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't always work like that, but that's why I brought up the chin, because it's
yes,
still
it does. BD8's boxing.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, it's still out there. It's still the chin is still an asterisk for me, an interrogation mark. I don't know how good his chin is. Maybe you're right. Maybe Mendoza could. I mean, maybe a guy like Fundora could take him out. I don't know. Murtazaliev maybe as well. Certainly Murtazaliev with those wild hooks. But then again, if Mendoza could knock out Fundora with a left hook, Bohachuk, who's taller than Mendoza, should have an easier time reaching Fundora, who doesn't fight from the outside, by the way. He'd be giving Bohachuk free shots there, so I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the perfect fight for us fans would be the Murtazaliev fight.
Wait, we here?
Now, let's get down to the next fighter in the list. Well, again, we're surveying the 154-pound division here. We've already gone through about 6 guys now, right? We've gone through 6 fighters. Well, actually, we're getting to the 6th spot now. And that is the aforementioned Vergil Ortiz. Who do we got there? Okay, so Vergil Ortiz. Let's get back to the page here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit that like. It really helps us out. Hit the like, or we're going to be stopping after Vergil Ortiz. Where are we at with the likes? 54 likes. That's unacceptable, guys. Let's get it up to at least 70. 16 people hit that like, and we're golden. All right?
Hit the like.
Hit the like, or we're out of here after Vergil Ortiz. We're going to go eat some hamburger helper along with Ortiz. So what do we got with Vergil Ortiz? He's 26 years old, 22-0 with 21 knockouts, about as glossy a record as you're going to find in this division. He's listed as 5 feet 10 inches tall with a 70-inch reach. Just recently moved up to 154 pounds. His top wins, again, since he's a recent arrival, he's not a lot of wins at 154. Maurice Hooker and Edges Kavaliauskas at 147. And was the Hooker win at 140 or 147? I forget. Be that as it may, he ended up stopping both those guys. And then stepping into the deep waters of 154, he fought Bohachuk. Very tough fight. Again, I was looking at the chat earlier. Some people felt that Bohachuk edged that one. Be that as it may, Ortiz fought like hell and got that win. Guys, anything else you want to say before we move on to the next page?
Nope.
All right. So then let's get to his attributes. What makes Ortiz such a dangerous 154-pounder? What made him a potential superstar at 147? Really just a guy that was knocking everybody out down there. Power. Yeah, he might not be against what's his name? Bohachuk, he couldn't put him out. But he certainly caused him to stumble a couple of times. So, and also when he fought some other 154-pounders earlier in 2024, last year, he ended up wiping the floor with those guys in under a round. So at least against lower level opposition, that power is still there. And then even against some of the best like Bohachuk, he was still able to get their attention. Body punching. This dude loads up with those left hooks to the body, and it hurts to watch when he goes to the body. People might think, well, he couldn't do anything to Bohachuk. Ask Bohachuk the day after how his body felt. I'm pretty sure he didn't feel all that great going to the toilet. And the other thing I think that gets overlooked here is his heart. I think the fact that when he fought, what's his name? Bohachuk, I don't think he was 100%. As we're going to see later on, he's had some health issues. Moving up to 154 against a big guy like Bohachuk, he seemed to be tired in the mid-rounds. And yet he pulled it off. He never stopped punching. He adapted, fired off more jabs. So I think that heart of his is gonna keep him in some of these tough fights. What do you guys think about Ortiz as a fighter, his attributes? What makes him dangerous and what could make him a potential leader in this division?
How old is he again?
26, I believe.
Okay, so he's entering his peak, number 1. Still technically undefeated, regardless of what you thought of his previous fight. And like you said, I still think he can crack even at this weight. Even if he can't crack with one punch like he could at welterweight, he's still got power. And it might be more of the wear you down power than it will be the one punch knockout power. The point being of this whole thing is the fact that that's going to make him a force to be reckoned with in any weight class. And so, especially the current one he's in, even though these guys are young, he seems to have a lot of experience for a young fighter. So maybe they've just got him some good sparring along the way. He's been a good amateur. I think he's got the highest upside of anybody here.
By the way, in the chat, Franio in the chat asks, how do you lose a fight with 2 knockdowns? How do you lose a fight with 2 knockdowns? Well, I mean, if it's a close fight, the 2 knockdowns could make a difference. That's usually how it happens. Combat Sports says, Ortiz is too tough for his own good. His body will eventually deteriorate from wear and tear. You know, that's the other thing, though. One of his attributes is he's a risk taker. Again, 154 pounds. He only had about 2 rounds combined of ring time after his layoff, and then stepped in against Bohachuk. And we know he likes to take risks outside the ring, too. We know we've all seen the pictures of what he likes to get into in the bedroom. So that type of risk taking could end up being good for us boxing fans and good for his career, but maybe not good for his health in the long run. I don't know. In terms of his flaws, he's got one speed. That's one thing I don't like. Like I said earlier, he loads up on the left hook. Well, sometimes he loads up on every shot. You'd like to see him add a little bit more craft to his game. Fire some throwaway shots. Distract his opponent with a couple of pity pats here and there, and then going with the big stuff. One speed, that's some of his opponents are going to read those that offense. And if they can absorb it, they're going to be able to counter potentially. Well, what do you guys think about that? About the fact that Ortiz, it seems like he goes into 100% with every shot.
He's a bit of a balls to the wall kind of fighter, and he's also kind of a weight bully. So I think he'll be all right at 154, but eventually he's gonna that rhabdo, ass eating myalysis, whatever he got, is gonna come back, and he's gonna have to go up to 160. And he's already kind of fighting guys a little bit bigger than him now, maybe closer to his size. I think he's had a lot of trouble at 160. The weight thing for me is the biggest concern for this guy, Vergil Ortiz. He's I'll be honest, he's a fucking weight bully. And I've heard Eric Gomez on the 3-round knockdown rule. Was the one with Steve Kim and
3 knockdown rule, yeah.
Mario Lopez. Yeah, I heard Eric Gomez talking on there. I think I mentioned it before. And they asked him about Vergil Ortiz and how's he doing, how's his career looking. And he goes, he's great, we're great. We'll be ready to fight anybody. He can beat anybody as long as we have enough time. As long as we got 5 or 6 months ahead of time, we're good. We'll make the weight. This is never going to happen again. And he just kept harping on the weight and how much time he needs.
5, 6 months.
I don't think that's good for this dude.
Yeah, 5, 6 months. I mean, that's a lot of time.
That's a long time.
Training camp shouldn't be 3 months either. That's what some of these guys do. Like, I'm in camp 3 months. What the fuck? I'm in camp, by the way. Well, what are you doing? You're in a cabin somewhere in camp? I mean, come on. 2 months, man. I mean, that's how some of these guys, some people in the chat are saying that's why he gets injured. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that's one of his flaws is that one speed, like Sobers touched on there, the injuries. That's another thing that I don't know if he trains too hard or spars too hard. I don't know, but he's been injured.
He's too much ass.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. It should be boosting his immune system, but evidently it's doing the opposite. And
question: can he become? Sorry, can he become that Mexican or like Mexican American superstar?
Well, he needs to be more consistent with
like an attraction, a pay-per-view guy.
He needs to be more consistent with his performances. That's number one. Number two, he needs to be more active too. But he certainly has a style to do so.
Yeah, but like you're saying, BD, he needs to be more active, and he needs to find a weight class where he's going to really be comfortable at. I don't know if it's going to be 154, and he really got to start speaking a little bit of Spanish and stop talking about, my grandma's hamburger helper is the best.
Yeah.
Because we're not down with that, bro.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. By the way, Windy City in the chat says he was just waiting for us to get to Vergil Ortiz. He's going to be leaving afterwards. So sad to see you go, Windy City. But you see, Vergil Ortiz has his fans. A lot of people think that he's going to make it to the top and he could be the next best thing. Yeah, Bucho, I think he could be the next best thing. He certainly has a good following in that California area, thanks to what's his name, Robert Garcia. And then on top of that, I think he's done well in Texas. I'm pretty sure he could do well. All those, El Paso and Dallas, and you put him in California too, he could do well, man. So there's potential, but he needs to be active. I tell you what, man, a win over Madrimov, that's depending on if he pulls it off, how he pulls it off, that could potentially set him into another stratosphere. Which brings us to the what the fuck? I forgot to change the name.
Let me say one more thing on this. Oh, you're saying ace in the hole. I was gonna say one more flaw about him. Another thing too, he's kind of a nerd. He kind of acts like a virgin. And we start calling him Virgin Ortiz. He photoshopped himself next to what's her name? What's that girl's name? Selena Gomez.
What?
Sitting her sitting next to him, like some nerd shit. And I'm like, bro,
really?
You act like a virgin, bro. I don't think you eat ass. I'm gonna call him Virgin Ortiz, and that might be his ace in the hole. His virginity. He keeps him, give him all his power. He keeps all that protein.
He's got well, he's got the hamburger helper with the protein. He's got some meat in there too. Yeah, you're right. But you know what? I forgot to mention. Yeah, arrogance. He's a little bit arrogant though. When he got dropped against Bohachuk, he's shaking his head. I think he actually put his hands on the referee. It's like, no, get away from me. Don't count that.
He grabbed the referee like, no, you stop counting.
Exactly. He's like, no. It's like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Also, BDA,
he was in shock.
When they were talking about beating, someone said they had the better of him in sparring, remember? And he hit him and his dad. I've never even seen his dad, bro. And his dad starts coming on to interviews. Oh, all of a sudden you beat us up in sparring. Fuck that. And you know what I mean? They got really up in arms about that. Someone saying they did well with him in sparring.
I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing up. Yeah, that's true. He took it personal in the Bohachuk fight. Like, oh, he said that he handled me easily. I'm going to prove you. I was like, man, I mean, listen, these guys at this level, they need that competitive edge. But then also, case in point, when there was one reporter intimated that maybe Ortiz, the reason why he'd pulled out of the Stanionis fight was because he wasn't sick or whatever. It's just he couldn't make weight. And Ortiz said to that reporter, because of what you said, I will no longer be talking with you. And I said, come on, you can't do that to reporters. I mean, it's a two-way line of communication, man. You need them, they need you. But for him to say, well, I didn't like what they said, therefore I'm going to just shut off all lines of communication with him, throwing a hissy fit. I don't like that, because it leads me to believe, if he's that arrogant about all of these things, is he arrogant about certain flaws that he may have in the gym and all that? Again, I don't think so, because some guys can be arrogant and assholes, but they do one thing correctly. They're realistic about one thing, and that could be their job. And so maybe that is with Ortiz. That could be the case. Maybe he's realistic about unrealistic about everything else except boxing. But I don't know. Whenever I see an arrogant boxer, I don't know if he's fixing the things that he needs to in the gym. Ignore the name they're up there. It's supposed to say Vergil Ortiz. But anyway, ace in the hole, the jab. I think it could be the best jab in the division. Without that jab, I don't think he wins the Bohachuk fight, because just winging shots 100% against Bohachuk wasn't cutting it. He actually had to revert to some of his long-range skills, and that jab, pretty good jab. He also used that jab at 147 and 140 to back guys up, like against Maurice Hooker and Kavaliauskas. Against Kavaliauskas, that jab was really on point, so it's a pretty good jab. I don't know if there's any other guys who have that great a jab in this division. We'll see. And the perfect fight for him, well, it's coming up. Israil Madrimov. It's a great fight for him because Madrimov has a lot of shine now because of the performance against Crawford. So if Ortiz can beat Madrimov or even stop Madrimov, something Crawford couldn't do, Butchus asked the question earlier, could he become a star? I think that win, especially a stoppage win or dominant win, it could be it. Could be it for sure. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. We're talking about the 154-pound landscape here, trying to go through all of the top 10 guys, or the top guys rather. And we've already gone through 6 guys now. We've listed, 6 fighters. Let's go to... Oh, wait a minute. Before we get down to that, we didn't even get to the 70 likes that we said. 7 people hit that like. 7 people hit the like. Bucho, do we even continue the show now, or what do we do?
What?
Do we even continue the show now, or do we call it quits?
We should call it quits.
I think so, huh?
Wow. Thanks a lot, audience.
Well, I mean,
thanks a lot, Frankie Sands. Thanks a lot, Inca Boxing. Thanks a lot, the other Anthony dude.
The other Anthony dude. About. Yeah, well, I mean, there's something, I don't know. I'm going to blame everybody. You guys failed to help us. Oh, there we go. We got to 70. Look at that. See, all we needed to do was threaten people. By the way, what's going to be the next threat? Showing up at people's houses? Or where are we going to draw the line at?
You're going to send pictures of Pigeon to everybody. Start DMing pictures.
Come on. No, that's too much, man. One thing is showing up at a person's house. Another one is to show those pictures.
To scar them for the rest of their life.
Come on. Don't talk. See, now you're throwing Pigeon under the bus. He's not here to defend himself. Come on. What's the matter with you?
I'm making a jokey joke.
Well, like he says, the internet is just a bit of fun, man. But the next guy in this list, Sebastian... By the way, shout out to everybody who hit the like. Shout out to you guys. The next guy in the list here, Sebastian Fundora. the beanpole. I like to call him Nakatomi Plaza. This guy is tall. 27 years old. One of the, relatively young for the division. 21-1 with 13 knockouts. Look at that. 6 feet tall and 6 feet and 5.5 inches tall. He's the tallest guy at 150. He's the tallest guy at 160, 168, 175. I don't think there's anybody big at that tall until you get to to cruiserweight. Like the guy that just fought Opetaya, I think he's like 6'6" or something. This is insane. I've never seen a guy that tall at 154 pounds. And with that height comes an insane reach, 80-inch reach. This dude is a freak. Then you get to his top wins. 27 years old, actually has a pretty good resume. He's got a win over Nathaniel Gallimore. He beat him up something awful a couple of years ago. Did the same thing to Erickson Lubin. Dropped Lubin. Then he got hurt himself. Battled adversity. Came back from adversity and stopped Lubin. Beat him up something awful too. He left him looking like he was like a troll. Just the face all swollen. And then recently he ended up getting a win over Tim Tszyu. Again, it's controversial. Some people feel that he shouldn't have won. And also some people feel he was fortunate that elbow opened up such a deep gash in Tim Tszyu's face. Or on his face, rather, and the blood ended up obstructing Tszyu's vision. Be that as it may, that's what Sebastian Fundora brings to the table in terms of wins, and as it pertains to his attributes. Like I said, experience. Quite a good deal of experience for a guy his age. On top of the wins that I mentioned, he also has a win over Carlos Ocampo, Sergio Garcia, Jorge Cota. So it's a pretty good, decent resume right there. Uppercuts. This guy, when he gets close to his, again, a beanpole like him, you would think, oh, maybe it's, 1-2s or maybe his jab is his best weapon. Nah, uppercuts. Even in his own sole loss against Mendoza, even though he got knocked out, Fundora was still landing with some uppercuts. He was busting Mendoza up. So those uppercuts are something nasty. And then on top of that, stamina. I don't think I've ever seen this guy tired. He wouldn't stop throwing against Lubin, didn't stop coming against Sergio Garcia. Same thing against Ocampo. He outworked Ocampo. And against Tszyu, he kept those hands moving as well. So I think stamina is one of his big attributes. What do you guys think about Fundora as a fighter?
He's a machine. He's a Terminator. Like you said, he never stops coming forward. He never stops throwing punches. He's a big target, though. He does get hit, and that's the problem.
Absolutely. Well,
I'm not sure how far he can. He's a champion right now, right? He's the WBC, WBO champion. So he's at the top right now. Right. He's not a contender or anything like that. But yeah, can he handle Terence Crawford, for example? I still believe Terence Crawford punches really hard.
I think so.
At 154, and if he can, then it's gonna be. See, the thing is, he's young and he never stops. So a guy like Crawford, can he handle that type of pressure, that type of fight, that type of pace?
It's a good question.
I think it would be a perfect matchup, dude. The Crawford, the ultimate weight bully, meets the real ultimate weight bully in Fundora, and then see how good he is. See if he really can beat giants. He can beat guys bigger than him, like he was beating guys. Little Sean Porter. These guys are supposed to be bigger than him at 147. Madrimov, still smaller than him.
Remember Postal? He was tall. He was big. At 140, right?
Yeah.
What happened in that fight?
He stayed away. He didn't want to engage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good point. That is a good point. Although I will say that I do think Crawford probably pulls it off. And I'm going to tell you why when we get to the flaws.
How dare you?
Listen, I got to call it the way I see it, man. He's got this straight up stance.
You got to stay on code, BDA.
There ain't no such thing with me on code, man.
No, it's okay. I'll do it.
Well, yeah, okay. But when it comes to his flaws, he's got this straight up stance that I don't like because he doesn't move the head because he's so tall. He just relies on taking a step back. But he's got this straight up stance, chin up in the air a little bit. Doesn't have a good guard. He likes to use a little bit of the Philly shell or cross guard stance, and it left him open against Mendoza, just straight up. Again, it's not that easy to catch him because he's so tall. But if Mendoza could do it, I think Crawford with those long ass arms of his can. The other thing is that what I mentioned earlier, he's one-dimensional. For such a tall guy, you'd expect him to be able to, maybe like Tommy Hearn, stick and move or whatever. I don't know. Is he too tall to be able to do that? Because I think at a certain point, once you're past 6'3" in a low division like this one, doesn't that become sort of a hindrance? The inability to move properly. I mean, he doesn't look like a smooth guy with his footwork.
Yeah.
And
he can be a handicap, but he manages to use his size to his advantage and try to. I don't know, man. Like, it's true. How does he even fight on the inside? That's kind of weird.
It's really
he just brawls it out. He dogs it out.
Yeah, but like his arms are fucking long as hell. It's weird.
That's the other thing. He's a bit of a slapper when it comes to the hooks.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't throw proper punches when you're that big, though. It's not gonna be.
I mean, the uppercut. The reason why the uppercut is such a great weapon for him and a devastating one is because as a tall guy, all he has to do is bring that punch up. But when it comes to the hooks, that's why he doesn't really get as many stoppages as you would expect. Again, he went the distance with Ocampo, or as Tszyu stopped Ocampo. And, he couldn't stop Tszyu, couldn't put a dent on him, whereas Murtazaliev did. So he's not the biggest puncher out there. And I think that's because, again, his hooks, there's something there to his punching technique that's lacking. And finally, one of the big flaws is the chin. Lubin hurt him. Mendoza put him out. Again, I question his chin, and against guys like Murtazaliev, Crawford, Bohachuk, Ortiz, I don't know if that chin's gonna stand up to the pressure some of these guys are gonna be putting on it. So we shall see. Now, when it comes to the ace in the hole for him, well, I think it's his height, because sometimes, often it does work. Just taking a step back. And being so tall with such a long range too, that some of these guys, a lot of these guys, they just miss. Again, if he were to fight Mendoza and if he was to correct some things, I don't think Mendoza catches him again with with such a devastating hook. I think he'd probably catch him, but if Fundora tightens up the defense, I think he could roll with the shots a little bit more. So I think that height, definitely, right now at 6'5.5" tall, he's got, or 6 feet and 1.5 inches tall. I think he's the tallest guy, and I think that is his ace in the hole against some of these other dudes. And I think the perfect fight is the one that they've been talking about for months. Errol Spence. What do you guys think? Is that the perfect fight? Is that a come out win, or a stand? Would that be a stand-up win for Fundora? Stand-up performance?
Yes, because Errol Spence still has some value to his name. Not because I think he's great or he's that good of a fighter, but his name does have value. He used to be top 5 pound for pound. He took one loss to, Crawford. And I'm sure if and when he does announce that he's going to get back in the ring with somebody, it's going to be somewhat anticipated. He has fans. They're going to come out of the woodwork. So I do think that'd be a very good signature win for Fundora. Go ahead, put the nail in the coffin, knock the head off his shoulders, send him back to the ranch, let him ride his horses. You know what I mean? But make sure you send him back to the ranch without his fucking heart, because we're keeping that here. We're giving it to the boxing gods.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about this fight, and it's a difficult fight for Spence because Fundora is just a bigger, younger version of him. And what worked for Spence at 147 might not work against Fundora. And you know what? Sober said that Spence is going to get sent back to the ranch. I suspect that you're going to see an even more... what's the word I'm looking for here? Compromised version of Spence. He's going to be watching the horses going in circles. He's going to be standing there. I like the horses. Just standing there watching the horses.
He's going to be in a little wheelchair drooling on himself.
Nah, come on.
Spittling.
No, why'd you have to go with the wheelchair, man? Come on. Yeah, it could be a dangerous fight. I mean, if Errol Spence really is as great as some people made him out to be, he should be able to. This should be like a good comeback win, if he really is that type of deal. But I don't know, man. It's very dubious. Over a year-long layoff against a guy like Fundora who doesn't stop coming. I don't know. But yeah, that's what they've got over there with the PBC. That's what they got penciled in for him. Like I said, fellas, don't forget to hit the like. We're surveying the 154-pound division, as you can tell here. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe if you've yet to do so already. Who's next? We've gone through, what is it now, 2,
Check
4.
out the message.
Check out the message. Oh, somebody sent, how come I didn't hear the, do you have it right there with you, or?
I'm opening it.
Let's see who gets to it first. Because they just sent. Did they just send it, or?
It's Amok with $5. Thank you for your super chat. He says, "Where the fuck is the super chat button, fuckers? Is Bucho sleeping on the job again? Shout out to." Oh, I have to click on it to see more. He says he's Bucho sleeping on the job again. Shout out to the BDA boxing community. There's a bunch of mistakes here, but.
He says bidet.
Oh, it says
the bidet.
Yeah, and then fuck. But YouTube, anyways.
Yeah, well, I think we went through that.
Yeah. What? I said thank you for the insults, Amok. I'll get back to you later.
Which is not taking it lightly here today. But shout out to Amok PvP for his contribution via the Buy Me a Coffee. Really appreciate it. And what was I going to say? Yeah, okay, so we've gone through about 7 names now. And we're almost done here. So let's get down to it. The 154-pound division, perhaps the most jam-packed division in boxing right now. And now we get to a newcomer, recent arrival, and a bit of a mystery in Bakhram Murtazaliev. Where's he from? Russia or Chechnya, or I forget. Well, be that as it may, parts unknown.
He's from Russia.
Yeah, parts unknown.
He's Muslim, and he's Muslim. He's Muslim because after he stopped Tszyu, they were yelling Allahu Akbar. So.
Yeah, well, I remember the whole thing about him not training properly, supposedly for Kalke because of Ramadan.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so at 32 years old, Murtazaliev is one of the oldest guys in this list. He's 23-0 with 17 knockouts, big puncher. He's listed as being 6 feet tall with a 72-inch reach, kind of similar to Bohachuk's dimensions. When it comes to his top wins, well, he's still a bit of an unknown because he's only really got 2 big wins. Jack Kalke, whom he took out in 2024, I want to say, and then Tszyu, again, last year as well. But Murtazaliev certainly has shown us a lot in that year. It's interesting, he didn't fight at all in 2023, so it's a bit of a weird record that he's got. Again, at his age, we don't know. He hasn't gone the distance in a long time. He hasn't gone 12 rounds in a long time, so we don't know what he's got. That's what we're going to get to. But what we've seen so far is power. Became the first guy to stop Jack Kalke. And Kalke is no easy pick for anybody or easy fight. He almost beat Demetrius Andrade. In fact, some people believe he won that fight. He beat Dennis Hogan as well, who's a tricky guy. Again, gave Zulensky a good fight, although I think he definitely lost that one. He also gave the always tough David Etchenko a very tough fight back in 2019. And he was actually on a pretty good winning streak prior to losing to Murtazaliev. So that's a good win there for this Russian guy to be able to stop Kalke. Strength. If you watch that Kalke fight, Kalke is pretty good at pressuring guys, taking them into deep waters. He was trying to do that with Murtazaliev. He was trying to push him back. And you could tell that when he would hit Murtazaliev and Murtazaliev would cover up, those punches weren't moving him. This dude is big. I don't know, for some reason he looks stronger too than Bohachuk, even though they're listed as the same height. So that's a strength, is one of his key elements here. And confidence. He's probably very confident. The fact that, like I said, he was able to stop Kalke when no one else could. And he's coming off a devastating beating of Tszyu, give him a shellacking. So what do you guys think about Murtazaliev's attributes? How dangerous is he?
Danger. Well, I mean, he looked like a destroyer, like a Mike Tyson.
Right.
Yeah, he looked like against Tszyu.
Danger.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go back and watch that. I was watching Jake Kalke. What's his name again?
Jack Kalke.
Mm-hmm. Jake or Jay?
Jake.
And Jake, I don't know. And it was a competitive fight. Obviously, Kolke was stopped in the 11th round.
11th, I think. Yeah, I think it was a really good fight.
Yeah. But he was, Murtazaliev was getting tagged and he looked tired. He looked busted up in that fight too. So, let's not get all fucking crazy because he destroyed Team Tszyu. I mean, we talked about Team Tszyu's flaws, and there are many. And Murtazaliev exploited those. But I remember he dropped Team Tszyu early, and that changed the whole fucking fight after that. It was only 3 rounds. So let's calm down a little bit with Murtazaliev because I'm hearing people saying, "These guys knock out everybody all of a sudden." Yep.
Okay. So with Tim Tszyu, we kind of already knew he could be like he was potentially like knockout real material because I remember when Terrell Gaucher had dropped him, and that guy's not really a puncher, and he did it early too. So this guy's susceptible to being caught early, and with his what I was gonna say, with Murtazaliev, he was saying that he had such a hard time with Jack Kolke is because he fought him during Ramadan, and he said, "Catch me off Ramadan, and I'm gonna be a different fighter." So whether that's true or not, we got to see him fight again.
Well, that would explain why he looked tired, because he did look tired. And if you're not eating, and then you're fighting, or you're not eating properly, then that I'm sure that can affect him. Yeah, Mark says, "Nah, fasting is legit." All right. Well, I mean, he's definitely a fighter I wanna watch again, no doubt about it. I don't know. I mean, did he look like Mike Tyson prior to the Team Tszyu fight? I don't know. You guys let me know in the chat. You saying no?
No, because Jack Kolke gave him all he could handle.
Yeah, but apparently the Ramadan affected him, so
we got to see. I don't know if I'm ready to give him that excuse just yet.
People
I would like
saying,
to see how Crawford. I'd like to see how Crawford takes his hook, but we are lining him up for Canelo, so I guess I'll just leave that alone.
And when it comes to Crawford, I mean, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Crawford here. I don't know if he's gonna fight any of these guys. I don't think he wants. I think he just wants a big fight. And if the Canelo fight looms, they're saying it might take place in September. So I mean that he's injured. So he might not even fight until September. And if he does, he's not going to fight any of these guys that we've been mentioning so far. Why would he? We saw him against Madrimov, and what happened there? Some people think he lost a fight. It was a complicated fight. So why risk it? Why risk a loss? Why risk a payday against Canelo? Losing that payday, So, nah, he's not gonna fight any of these guys. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Oh wait, we got another. Buy me a coffee, I think. It's not loading. All right, we have Amok again with a super. Buy me a coffee. Link in the description. If you're reading this, you are wasting your time. Sorry for the sense of humor. And then everything's together. There's no spacing between the whole thing. I don't know how I managed to read this, but Amok is just fucking trolling us at this point. Completely unacceptable.
By the way, I think he changed his name in the YouTube too. I think he's going under Combat.
Yeah. Now it's what's his fucking name now? Combat Sports Fan TV.
Bipolar Sports Fan TV. Now shout out to. Shout out to Amok for his contribution right there, man. What was I going to say? I heard you. I had to go to latrine there, but the last thing I heard you guys saying was Sober's talking about Tszyu being chinny. And it's true. I forgot that Gaucher had dropped him, but there was a Australian guy, I think, or I forget if he was Australian, but it was another white guy dropped him hard early in his career too. And again, that was because of his lack of guard. So now you guys got me wondering, how good was Team Tszyu's chin? And is it possible that maybe Murtazaliev, like Bucho said, is he being a little overrated here? I think the strength and the power is legit because he did stop Kolke. But you know what, Bucho, some people say that, he looked bad against Kolke, or he didn't look as good as he usually is because of Ramadan. He was training during Ramadan. I'm thinking, you and I live here in Montreal. There's a high Muslim population. We got our contacts. We have it on good authority that some of these athletes, they don't respect Ramadan. Because remember, Islam has
There's exceptions. They do exceptions for the whole thing, you know.
And by the way, you know, they're fighting for, you know, a lot of these Muslims, they always shout out Allah during the fight. So they're fighting for Allah. So in their mind, they're probably thinking, well, you know, I'm representing Islam
it's a
here.
Jihad.
I'm representing the jihad here, the Crimson Jihad. So I think Allah would allow me to eat a couple of Snicker bars during the day, as opposed to fasting like all the other Muslims.
I mean, it's a good excuse, and it's a way of telling your people, hey, listen, I'm doing Ramadan. Don't think that I'm not doing it.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, if the fight goes the wrong way, he can always say, well, you know, I was doing Ramadan.
Yeah, he can hijack it that way and say, well, it was, you know, it was Ramadan.
Yeah.
Very explosive tactic, if you ask me. It's almost like, you know, there's two pillars of truth, and he wants to bring them down. There are two towers, if you could say that as well, instead of pillars. Exactly. So when it comes to but he's probably confident right now that he was able to beat those two guys and stop them where no one else could prior to that. Flaws. Well, these aren't so much flaws as they are potential flaws. Stamina. We don't know how good his gas tank is or how it's going to be against guys like Bohachuk, Fundora, Ortiz, younger guys who are better than Kolke and perhaps even better than Tszyu. So that's going to be a question right there. Chin. Again, I don't know how good his chin is. He took some shots early. He took some shots early from Tszyu before he ended up decimating Tszyu. But he took some shots, and like I said, Tszyu hits pretty well. As you know, he can crack, and Murtazaliev took him well. But again, I don't know. Throughout 12 rounds, and then of course the age at 32, he's kind of older than some of these other guys. The median age here appears to be 28, 29. And he's past that. So, again, that could be a problem right there. When we get to the ace in the hole from Murtazaliev, those left hooks of his, my goodness gracious, he gets some leverage on it. He can counter with the left hook. He can lead with it. I mean, the way he cracked Tszyu, it was beautiful to watch, really, the way he destroyed Tszyu, you know, from a pugilistic standpoint. So I think that ace in the hole is a left hook. And that's a left hook that's pretty good in a land populated by left hookers. Bohachuk's got a good left hook. Ortiz, of course. Madrimov. This guy, he just has some leverage on that long left hook. The perfect fight, well, like we mentioned earlier for Bohachuk, same thing goes for him. I think a perfect fight would be Bohachuk. Fireworks right there.
Yeah, someone's going to die there. Why that fight?
Someone's getting sacrificed, as Sovers would say. All right, well, listen, we still got a couple of names here, so let's get to it, fellas. We are surveying the 154-pound division. We've gone through 7 names now. Now, what am I talking about? 8 names. We've gone through 8 names, and we're almost at the top. Who will come out on top in the 154-pound division? And who's next? Who next, as they like to say in the streets? Well, Israil Madrimov. People are familiar with that name because he did a good job against Crawford. There we go. That's Israil Madrimov, hailing from Uzbekistan. Good amateur pedigree. That's why he's been
draw.
Yeah, he had as a draw against Soro because of the headbutt.
He didn't have the draw.
Well, I didn't feel like I needed to.
So he has 13 fights. Okay, go ahead.
What was I going to say? Okay, so that the draw against Soro was in the rematch. Technical draw, yeah. He's 29 years old. He's been fast-tracked. His first opponent was Vladimir Hernandez, the guy I just mentioned at the beginning of the show, who's been pulling off a bunch of upsets and has been really beating some people up over at Pro Box. Israil Madrimov took on that veteran in his first fight. Madrimov did. First professional fight for Madrimov, and ended up stopping Hernandez, something only Jesus Ramos has been able to duplicate. So it goes to show you how good this guy might be. 10-1 with 7 knockouts. He stands at 5 feet 8.5 inches tall with a 68.5-inch reach. Not that big a dude, by the way. Did you guys see that picture of him facing off with Ortiz? Let me just show it to you here, because that could play a factor in something we're going to be discussing here. The fact that at 5'8.5", he's one of the shortest guys in the list. And then he was facing off against Ortiz. And hold on, I'm looking for it here. Where is it? I'm looking
it's
for
like a
good...
2-inch difference, no?
Yeah, and it shows, man.
Well, he was the smallest champion in the weight class, right? That's why Crawford fought him, because it's someone that Crawford's even bigger than.
You think that's the... Yeah, you never... Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. That's how Crawford thinks. Classic, always has to have an advantage over a guy and all that. All right, well, I'll try to find it. Oh, well, here it is. I found the picture here. Let me just show it to you real quick. Where is it? And again, I want to emphasize this because there's a lot of giants in this division. Guys that are 5'11", 5'10", 6 feet tall. Look at that.
I mean, maybe he had sneakers on or something like.
Well, but he's 5'8.5" and Ortiz is 5'10".
No, but yeah. But do you think he's the same height as Crawford? How come Crawford looked bigger than Madrimov?
Someone's lying. I guess that's the only way to
Someone's
put
lying.
it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's what we got there with Madrimov. Despite his so-called height disadvantage, he's still, like I said, a formidable fighter. Top wins. Michel Soro, very underrated guy, Michel Soro. Could have easily made it the top 10 here. In fact, I think ESPN's rankings have him in the top 10. I could be wrong. He also has, like I said, the aforementioned Vladimir Hernandez on his dossier. And the fight prior to Crawford, he beat the undefeated Magomed Kurbanov, who had wins over Soro and Liam Smith. And Madrimov just went in there and wiped the floor with Kurbanov. Made it look easy. Easy work. So very good resume there for Madrimov. What are his attributes? Very good jab. Just ask the aforementioned Soro about that jab. It's starting to look Golovkin-esque, that jab. Now, he didn't show it all that much against Crawford because Crawford's a southpaw, so it's not quite there yet as a Golovkin-type jab. But again, if you watch the Soro fight or the Kurbanov fight, it's looking like that way a little bit. Power. These dudes can crack. Just ask Kurbanov, ask Eric Walker, which that fight should have ended by knockout, by the way, when Madrimov leapt into the air with a left hook and just downright almost killed Eric Walker. That, again, the referee screwed that up. I should find the name of the referee, by the way, because he deserves to be shamed for such a horrible decision. The guy looked like an egg, by the way. White and pale, bald. Anyway, the point is, Madrimov can crack. And we're going to get to the fact that maybe Crawford does have a good chin at 154 because he took some big shots from Madrimov. And the other thing I like about Madrimov is agility. His agility, very agile. There's a point in the Crawford fight where he throws what was the sequence? He threw a right hand and Crawford stepped back and then Madrimov leapt into the air and caught him with a left hook. So that's something that he's very explosive with his feet. He's got a lot of spring on those knees. He can use that to keep his opponents turning too on the inside, give him angles. Madrimov, very, very good fighter. What do you guys think? Do you concur with that? Anything we missed in terms of attributes?
No, it's pretty accurate. He has 13 fights. Now I'm wondering, should Crawford have struggled against a guy with 13 fights?
Well, it's 13 quality fights for the most part.
Right. And an amateur background and all that, I understand, but still.
Yeah, I mean, if Crawford's supposed to be this high-level IQ guy, I don't think... I mean, for a guy like that, yeah, he shouldn't have struggled. But again, I knew going in... We were some of the few people here on this podcast saying that Madrimov wasn't going to be easy. So I think I give credit to Madrimov for that, not I don't criticize Crawford too much. But then again, Crawford did show up heavier too on top of that. And the way some of the shots he ate in that fight lead me to believe that Canelo's going to be able to reproduce some of that, just like Madrimov did. I understand why people... Anyway, we're not getting into that with the Canelo-Crawford thing. In terms of flaws for Madrimov, well, so far the one I've been able to identify is stamina. He sort of slowed down against Eric Walker. Now, that was during the pandemic. So I understand some guys weren't training properly or some guys weren't making, like Steve Kim would say, some of these guys didn't have the benefit of going to the sauna or all that. They would have to bring the portable sauna to lose weight and all that. So maybe during the pandemic. Then again, he should have gotten that win over Walker via knockout. So again, that's the screw up from the referee. But he sort of slowed down there. He also seemed to slow down a little bit against Ibokwe, the aforementioned guy who was able to beat him, stop him, that I said earlier. Anyway, he slowed down a little bit there, and he slowed down against Crawford. Crawford looked a little fresher in the last round. I'm thinking, if you're tiring out, or if the older guy is tiring you out, and I know Crawford is this big pound-for-pound guy, so yeah, but I don't know. It's Madrimov's stamina. It's a little questionable to me. And then on top of that, the fact that he didn't even start all that well against Crawford. He was very patient, but it wasn't doing much in the first 3-4 rounds. So how are you getting tired against an older guy? I mean, that again. So stamina, a little suspect. Thin skin. He's a white boy. White bread. They tend to have a little bit of a thin skin, and not necessarily just the thin skin because I don't think he's ever been cut. But what I referenced by thin skin is he was marked up against Crawford, and I think he's got the type of skin that's going to get easily marked up. And I hate to say it, but that's the way these judges think. Sometimes judges do judge by blood. They look at a guy's face, he's busted up, and they go, oh, then that means the guy's punches are probably, his opponent's punches are probably affecting him. Got to start looking at those punches a little bit more. That's how they think sometimes. And chin. That's the other thing, though. He's fighting Ortiz now, and I don't remember the last time he fought a big puncher. Crawford's a big puncher, but it's questionable at 154. Kurbanov's not a big puncher.
He was kind of hesitant though to go to let his hands go against Crawford at some point. I think if he would have done that, he would have won the fight.
Right? Yeah, I think so too, a little bit. I'm on that train a little bit. I'm on that train of thought that, yeah, maybe he's not all that confident. What's that?
He likes balls.
He's perhaps a little bit too technical, but again,
I'm exaggerating, but he was a really hesitant, and that's why I'm saying Crawford still has power, man. Don't get it twisted.
And like I said, I question his chin a little bit because it is still unproven against a big Soro can crack. But again, he hasn't really fought anybody as explosive as Vergil Ortiz yet. So against guys like Bohachuk, Murtazaliev, even a guy like Tszyu, it does remain to be seen whether he's going to be able to withstand them. I think he will. Something tells me he will, but you just never know. Now, as it pertains to his ace in the hole, he's ambidextrous. Like Crawford, he can switch stances. And although he doesn't switch to a southpaw stance all that often, or he doesn't stay in the southpaw stance as much as Crawford does, I've seen him do that in a couple of his fights, and he does it very well. And he can also crack with both hands. Again, Eric Walker, he dropped him with the left hook. Kurbanov with the right. Soro, he stunned him with the right hand. So this dude can crack with both hands, and I think that is his ace in the hole, that he's able to switch stances, and even if he doesn't switch stances, he can still be dangerous with both hands. And the perfect fight, well, coming right up against Vergil Ortiz, an undefeated phenom. And if Madrimov gets that win, it puts him back in contention, perhaps, you never know, perhaps, to a Crawford rematch. Anything else you guys want to add to the Madrimov dossier here before we move on?
Nope.
All right. So we've gotten it through 9 names now. Let me tell you, this has been a good show. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, but we still have a couple of names. We have one name here. And who do we get here? Hold on a second. I'm trying to look. Oh, yeah, okay. So here's the thing, guys. Some people are going to say, we know who the number one guy is. We know who the guy to beat is. The guy who's currently talking about a mega fight with Canelo Alvarez. That's the dude. Possibly with the number one ranking at the division and as the big name that people want to chase in the division. However, there is still one name, a mystery challenger. That's right, a mystery challenger that could end up coming out. People have forgotten about him. And that is Jermell Charlo, the true king of the division. The guy that people have forgotten about. Last seen in September 2023, losing to Canelo Alvarez, running around the ring. Couldn't do it for the culture, as he said. But Jermell Charlo, some people will argue, guys, is still the king. At 154, you don't lose it by committee. You lose it in the ring. And Jermell Charlo unified the division in 2022. He says he wants to come back and kick some ass 34 years old. The oldest guy, the second oldest guy in this list, with a record of 32 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 19 knockouts. Don't let it fool you. He hits harder than the record indicates. He's listed as being 5 feet 11 inches tall with a 73-inch reach. Guys, what do you think about Jermell Charlo? Is he still the king at 154?
Ring Magazine has removed this guy from their rankings. I don't know what the criteria is. It's been a while since he's fought at that division, so I don't know. Is he still a champion, guys? I don't know. How long
like I
has it been?
said, you don't lose it by committee. You lose it in the ring. That's the way my forefathers did it. That's the way my lineage dictates it. And I got to tell you, no matter how inactive he might have been a year, I've seen some guys be giving a lot more leeway than that. So I don't know if he comes back.
If he comes back, well, can he even make 154?
Are you gonna doubt the king? Is that who you're gonna doubt?
Yeah.
Keep doubting him. By the way, keep doubting him because he likes it. He feeds off that.
Has there been an interview with this guy or something? Like, has he said anything? He's like, he literally disappeared. He's like living in a cave or something.
That's a good point, man. I don't know. I know he came out. He said that at one point that he was going to come back and kick some ass. So he must have said that somewhere. I don't know if it was social media or in an online interview with somebody via webcam. I don't know. But evidently he wants to come back. He did have a stay busy fight, right? With that woman that he beat up, allegedly. So he's had some action, but certainly not in the ring where it counts.
All right, so let's assume that he comes back to 154. Okay, finish your the report here.
Well, I'm telling you this, Butcher, because I'm pretty sure he still has some fans, and if he comes back, there's going to be some people saying that he's still the righteous champion, the rightful champion. They're going to say that. They're going to say he's lineal. All right, so top wins. Again, he has the deepest dossier at 154. Brian Castano, Tony Harrison, Erickson Lubin. You could go with Jason Rosario too. Vanis Martiriosian. He fought Gabe Rosado a while back too. This guy has wins over some of the best 154 pounders. Tony Harrison. I mentioned him.
Did he fight J-Rock?
No, that was his brother.
No, that was his brother. Yeah,
right.
The knockout.
But so I'm sticking with 3 wins here. Brian Castano. I think that's still his best win so far. Tony Harrison. And Erickson Lubin, who he beat in 1 round. He was the first guy to beat Lubin. So he's got a good dossier right there. Attributes, power. It's the last thing to go. And that's how he won his championships. He was always in competitive fights or losing the fight, some people felt, but he would always pull it off with his power. He's got a good jab. Again, he's a very long-range oriented type of guy. Got a good jab, but he's also very versatile. He can fight inside, mid-range, outside. Again, he's not the best long-range guy, and there are better inside fighters as well, but he does everything well. And so that versatility might be his ace. Well, not his ace in the hole, but it could prove to be an advantage over some of these other less experienced guys. Flaws. Well, the inactivity hasn't been seen since September 2023. Since then, Canelo's fought twice. A bunch of other guys have been active. He hasn't. For what reason? I don't know. Lethargy. He's a little lethargic in the ring. He likes to move around. That was what he was doing in the last couple of years. He was moving, trying to run guys into something. You saw it didn't work out against Canelo, and there was no plan B. It was just same thing for 12 rounds. Oh, let me see if I can catch him with something. Wasn't going to work against Canelo. That fucking thick bulldog neck of his. And the other thing is the age. He's getting up there in age. There's a lot of, as we saw throughout the night here, the evening, there's a lot of young guys in this division. A lot of guys in their prime, fresher, willing to take
inactivity, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, willing to take the fights to another level of intensity that he might not be used to at his age. So there is that. As it pertains to his ace in the hole, like I said, he's experienced though. He's much more experienced. Save for Terence Crawford, Jermell Charlo is the most experienced guy at 154. Or overall, rather. The perfect fight would be Charles Conwell. Because Conwell would probably like that fight. He's like, hey, finally I could get a name, and I could make a name for myself by beating the former champion in Charlo. And Charlo would be facing a guy who's not that experienced. We don't really know much about him. Like I said earlier, the chin, the stamina and all that, how he would handle that. So I think that would be a good comeback fight for Charlo. Well, what do you guys think about Charlo then?
Is it realistic though, that fight? Because at this point, I don't think Jermel is looking for those type of fights. If he comes back down to 154, he's looking for a big fight.
Well, who do you think he'll want?
Fight.
Do you think he'll want no tune-up, no
Crawford.
nothing? Or? Really?
Oh yeah. And if he takes a tune-up, he would be fighting. He wouldn't be fighting the guys that we just mentioned on this episode. He wouldn't be fighting any of them. He'd fight somebody completely an extremely easy fight, no risk.
Yeah, by the way, Amok is mentioning he also fought Trout. I forgot about that. He beat Trout too.
Yeah, you're right, Trout, Austin Trout.
Hey, maybe that would be a good comeback fight. Trout, a rematch with Trout.
He should fight Lara. He should fucking stay at he should go to 160 and fight Lara.
I always forget. Is he friends with Lara and I think it's his brother. Because Jamal used to train with Ronnie Shields, who trains Lara. So maybe by association, Jermel wouldn't fight Lara either. But that's a good fight too. You're right, man. Why not? Lara's old.
I don't think he can make 154. Man. That's just my opinion. He was always big for the division. And now it's been like, almost a year and a half since that Canelo fight?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Because he would have to fight at 160 against Lara and then potentially go back to 154. Yeah, you're right. That. Anyway.
No, I don't even think he can make 154, but yeah.
We can dream.
I don't know.
We can dream and hope that he comes back because it would be interesting, man. He's going to do a lot of jawing.
Yeah, because he never lost the title.
Right.
The lineal title.
That's what he's going to say, by the way, I bet. He's going to say, I'm the true champ. These all the guys are just pretenders. I'm the real
like
champ.
Tyson Fury.
Exactly, yeah. So that's right there what we get with Jermel Charlo. I do want to say, though, before we conclude this list, I want to give some honorable mentions to some of the guys that, didn't make the list, didn't cut the mustard, but such guys are, the aforementioned Erickson Lubin. Last seen in the same day as Charlo, when he took on Ramos and got that lucky win, that fortunate win. So he's been MIA, but he's still a relatively experienced guy. I think he still has the fastest hands at 154. So there is that. He just needs to stay active. Honorable mention again at 154 goes to Xander Zayas. They're talking about bringing him up slowly. They'd offered him, there was talks of him fighting Ortiz in Riyadh season, but Top Rank said, we're not going to make the same mistake, or we're not going to allow him to make the same mistake, rather, that Jared Anderson made by taking the Riyadh season money and getting his ass beat by Bakoli. So they're keeping Zayas in the Top Rank ESPN waters, continue to develop him. So we'll see what happens with Zayas. Maybe he makes a list 2 years from now if we ever do it again. Another name that gets an honorable mention is Yoenis Tellez, the Cuban sensation. Again, he's in the same mold of Morel and Iglesias, or whatever the name is of that other 168-pounder Cuban. Southpaw, not southpaw, but aggressive. No longer the Guillermo Rigondeaus, the Laras, and the Ortizes of the world who are counterpunchers. These guys go get the fight. They make the fight. So could we see him in the future? Perhaps. Another honorable mention is Josh Kelly, 18-1 with 8 knockouts. Remember, people were making videos about him back when he was at welterweight. Josh Kelly, the style you've never seen, the next undefeated British sensation, blah, blah, blah. Well, Avenisian put a stop to that by stopping him. But ever since then, Kelly's moved up to 154. He recently got a win over, who was it again? Over at Riyadh, Ishmael Davis. Who, by the way, that gives you an idea of the class differential, because Serhi Bohachuk ended up stopping Ishmael Davis in, what was it now? Oh, it doesn't say here. But he stopped Davis, whereas Josh Kelly had to run around the ring to get himself that win back in September. So a difference in class, but Josh Kelly could make things interesting. You never know. And then there's Andreas Katsourakis, undefeated Greek strongman who won that mini DAZN tournament that they had last year when he beat Brandon Adams. Although some people contend he didn't deserve the decision, but still, he's a very strong guy, and you never know. He could make for some entertaining fights against some of these top 10 guys in the division. King KO in the chat says Zayas is being protected. Barry Nivola says Xander will never be a top echelon fighter. He doesn't have it. Yan Rand Protector, it says Josh Kelly, LOL. That's what I'm saying. People just don't. I don't think he deserves to be in the list. But I mean, he gets an honorable mention. Why not? Trey Ason, shout out to him. Says, "Long live BDA." Absolutely. So yeah. So those are some of the honorable mentions right there. So now we get down to, that's it, bottom of the hour. Who is number one guy ranked according to Ring Magazine? And of course, everyone already knows who that is. Terence Bud Crawford. There we go. Terence Bud Crawford, again, very seasoned fighter, but the only pound-for-pound guy in this division. I mean, the only guy in who inhibits the pound-for-pound list, who's also in this division as well. He's ranked number one according to Ring Magazine. He's 37 years old, 41-0 with 31 knockouts, as glossy as record as you can find. He's listed as being 5 feet and inches tall, supposedly shorter than Madrimov. Perhaps the shortest guy in this division, with a 74-inch reach. However, despite his lack of height compared to some other guys, the only guy who beats him with the reach is Sebastian Fundora. I think even Charles got less reach than him. These guys got orangutan arms, and that's one of the reasons why he's able to keep guys at bay when he wants to box. Top wins, we're just gonna limit it to 3 as again. Sean Porter down at welterweight. Errol Spence, of course, at welterweight as well. Perhaps his biggest win so far. And Israil Madrimov, very close fight, but nevertheless, Crawford did walk away with a win there. And that put him in the number one ranking here, according to Ring Magazine. His attributes. What are his attributes? Hand speed. Still pretty quick, even though he's 37. Although now he saves himself a little bit more. He reserves himself a little bit more, but he's still pretty quick. And like I said, with those long arms of his, they're like whips, and they're hard, and they come out quick. Another attribute he has, he's ambidextrous. Like I said with Madrimov, that really takes you a good long way, but Crawford actually does it better than Madrimov. He's straight up southpaw when he wants to be. And then if he doesn't suit him, he can always go back to the orthodox stance. And he's got versatility too. He can back guys up when he wants to, like he did with Dirigeant and Felix Diaz, or he can just be stay in the middle of the ring and counterpunch like he did with Spence, or he can run around the ring and make it ugly the way he did against Postal. So a lot of experience, very versatile in there. His flaws, however, he's got a couple. Porter's defense. He tightened that defense up when he fought Errol Spence, but he was still getting hit very flush against Avanesian. Same thing against Madrimov. Really almost, that Porter's defense almost cost him the decision right there. We've seen him hurt before. We've seen him get his head snapped back numerous times. That's when he sticks his tongue out to try to indicate that he wasn't hurt, which always means that he was hurt. The other flaw he has is his age. Again, oldest guy in this list against a bunch of young guys, fresh guys who are ready to battle. You got to wonder at some point if Crawford, when he fought Madrimov, by the way, he tried to turn on the afterburners late in the fight, and he just couldn't do it, which is emblematic of older great fighters. They can still do what they did in their primes, they just can't do it as often. And so I do wonder if that's going to cost him against some of these more dynamic young guys. And the fact that he's only been fighting once per year since 2020, I don't know if that's preserving him or making him rustier. Guys, what do you think about all of this? Is he, does he have too many flaws to survive at the top at 154? Especially against guys like Ortiz. Yeah.
He's getting old. He's not fighting he's not fighting often, as you said. Skill-wise, I mean, we know that he's a skilled boxer, obviously. But again, the age, inactivity, and then fighting bigger guys or guys his size, maybe. I mean, some people say that he should have always been, I mean, not always, but he should have been a 154-pounder years ago. But, you know, at that age, you can't, like you say, there's a lot of young guys in this division, big guys.
Well, I mean, again, I gotta tell you.
My opinion is that he's not going to fight these guys. He's not going to fight these guys. He's waiting for the Canelo fight.
Well, then let's get down to it right away. Then, when it comes to his ace in the hole, it's his experience. Like I said, the perfect fight at 154 would be the Madrimov Ortiz winner. But Butcher, like you said, we're hearing now that more and more people are talking about it. That Glacier said a couple of days ago that they are working on the Canelo fight. That negotiations are going well. So that's probably what we're gonna get this year for Crawford, rather. No, not a fight at 154.
Yeah, we're gonna get that fight.
But like I said,
I think if he doesn't get the Canelo fight, he will retire.
Yeah. I don't think he strikes me as a Mayweather-esque type of guy. I don't think he could stand to have a loss on his record.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, whoever thought Hopkins was the last guy you expected to keep going and going to get knocked out in his last fight, and that's what happened with him. He got beat up by Kovalev and then got his ass knocked out by Smith. And if you would have asked people in 2006, hey, is Hopkins going to retire taking a beating? A lot of people would have said, nah, he's too smart for that, blah, blah, blah. So you never know with Crawford. Maybe he ends his career like Roy Jones with a bunch of losses on his record. I don't know. Maybe he stays
No,
strong.
I don't think he would do that.
Yeah, maybe not, man. Maybe not.
I don't think
By
he's
the way-
broke or anything. Like so. Yeah.
By the way, did you hear Gervonta Davis? He insulted him, said he's got 8 kids and he's got a fat-ass wife.
No fucking
I mean,
way.
Tank Davis is really good. And that's the thing about Crawford is a sensitive guy who also has low impulse control. He will punch Tank Davis if he sees him in person. So Tank Davis thinks he's big stuff, but he's a midget in real life. And Crawford, we know that a lot of YouTubers and people on Twitter were always talking about how strong Crawford is. They love the wrestling with him, especially in front of their girlfriends for some reason, which was weird. But anyway, he's a strong guy, probably stronger than Tank Davis. So that's insane that he would be going after him like that. But Bucho, and Sobers, that was a 154-pound division. Pretty good division. Who do you guys think is the best? Despite what Ring Magazine says or ESPN, who do you guys think is going to be the top dog at 154? And I asked the audience the same question.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. I'm thinking here. Maybe the winner of Ortiz Madrimov. I don't count Crawford as a 154-pounder again. He's going to leave the division soon. He's not going to fight again there. So Madrimov, between Madrimov, Ortiz, and Fundora. Never Sober says Fundora.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Fundora right now.
Interesting. I mean, that's a bit of a you know what? That goes under. He goes under the radar, Fundora, because of the fact that he was knocked out. So people seem to, against all these big punchers, conventional thinking says, well, he might not make it. That's a victor in all those fights, but maybe he could. I don't know. He tightens up that defense. Maybe King KO says Conwell. There you go. He's picking the.
I haven't seen much of it. I'm gonna go in.
Well, he's unproven yet.
Fights.
He's got potential, but he's unproven. Sargent says no one.
Yeah.
None of them. Yanran says Murtazaliev. Champy says Jesus El Mono Ramos. Yeah, we started with Ramos at number 9. He's 23. Let's not forget. He could make it as end up in 2 years from now. He could be at the top of the division. You never know. Amok says, what about the Russian guy who lynched Tim? Well, yeah, people already mentioned Murtazaliev.
Yeah, Murtazaliev. Yeah.
Champy says, Jesus El Mono Ramos whoops everyone right now. He's the real boogeyman. You know what, man? I want to see how he looks this against Rosario. But again, fighting Rosario, who's fucking shot, that doesn't really tell me much. But hopefully he stops him.
Co-main event, pay-per-view.
Yeah, co-main event. Oh, isn't the co-main event Fulton versus Figueroa?
Oh, maybe. I thought he was... Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Who really cares, man? Fluffy Toaster 79 says, Vergil Ortiz, stay on code, BDA. Bucha did say the winner of Ortiz Madrimov could be that guy. Impala hashtag CCD says, Bradley and Bud love the big tortas. Ah, come on. Yeah, they. But you know what? Mexicans too, man. Mexicans, I've seen a lot of norteños going out with like these big fat chicks, and I go, come on. Can we get back to going with... Can we keep going? Can we go back to the days where Latinas were thin, and not the fucking with the fat, twerking and all that. Amok says Ramos is good too, and there is room to improve. Champy says Ramos is the first fight of the pay-per-view card. All right, there you go. So that's about it for that for this division outlook or survey that we did. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We're past the 2-hour mark here, 2:19, but we kept it under 3 hours. That's good. That's very good. I'm very proud of that. So shout out to everybody who donated via the Buy Me a Coffee. Shout out to everybody who joined us here in the chat. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Oh, and of course, I can't forget Boxing Chief, who was here earlier. Never Sobers, Bucho. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. It was a fun show. And shout out to everybody.
Patreon, free content, free videos, link in the chat.
That's right.
Go subscribe right now for free.
There you go. For free. We're gonna be posting a video, Benavides video, today. So stay tuned for that. And check out our secondary channel, BDA Clips. BDA Clips. Go check that out right now. Be a good mensch, as they say in the Jewish community. What else was going to say? Barry Nivola says, excellent show. BDA's been on fire recently. Well, shout out to you, Barry Nivola. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it as well. What else was I going to say about that? So shout out to Combat Sports Fan TV, Darkade Dog, Alfredo Contreras, Trey Ason, Juan Rambo, MX69, hashtag CCD, Champy. If I forgot any, Yanran. I know Official Scorecard Boxing was here earlier. Rapax Striking Company. If I forgot anybody, it's because we got to go. But hey, like I said, check out our secondary channel. We're starting to put more videos in there as well. Hold on a second. Butcher's putting the links in there as well. So go check that out. Like I said, Patreon for free, just like the PBC was supposed to be. And that's about it, fellas. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Catch up.